This is Spring Training Baseball 2020, and this afternoon we're at Roger Dean Stadium in Jupiter, Florida. A shared telecast with Fox Sports Florida and Fox Sports Midwest. It's the Miami Marlins and the St. Louis Cardinals. And welcome to Spring Training Baseball on Fox Sports Florida and Fox Sports Midwest. That's Brad Thompson, Todd Hollandsworth of the Miami broadcast. I'm Dan McLaughlin. Todd, I'll start with you. First time your fans have had a chance to hear from you since the offseason. What kind of a season are you expecting in 2020?
Well, I think it's going to be an exciting season. We've got a lot of young prospects that I think are going to crack this roster at some point this year and certainly get this team moving in the right direction. It's been a lot of talk about prospects. It has been over the last couple of years, but you're really starting to see them blossom.
Hear from Brad in just a moment. We're going to see one of the top prospects here today, aren't we?
Yeah, Jess Chisholm's getting the start at shortstop today. He's done a fantastic job. That swing is a lot shorter, and he's starting to produce. This kid's got immense power. He's got a little swagger in his game, too. We like to see that as well, but he's really opening up some eyes.
And one of the big storylines for the St. Louis Cardinals has been their battle in left field. One of the top prospects, Brad Thompson, is Dylan Carlson.
Well, Tom was just talking about guys knocking on the big league door. Well, Dylan Carlson is banging that thing down. I mean, he has done everything that you could ask out of a young player. A big league camp, he impressed last year. He's doing even more. He's making this a very tough decision for the organization, and they'd have it no other way.
All right, these are always a lot of fun for us to do in spring training. You're going to hear from Brad and Todd. I'm Dan. Shared telecast on Fox Sports Midwest and Fox Sports Florida. It's Spring Training 2020. A cool, windy day in Jupiter, Florida, and Roger Dean Stadium. We have our first pitch and starting lineups. They come your way next. Along with Todd Hollandsworth and Brad Thompson, I'm Dan McLaughlin. This is a shared telecast on Fox Sports Midwest and Fox Sports Florida. The St. Louis Cardinals and the Miami Marlins. The Marlins have had a good spring record-wise. They are 10-4-1, and the Cardinals come in at 7-7-2. Don Mattingly back for another season with Miami, and a look at his lineup, Todd.
Yeah, it's good to see Jazz Chisholm getting the start atop the lineup. He's playing well right now, so he's going to get the start at the top spot. John Burry doing a good job as well. Some speed there. You see all the way down Monte Harris, another guy that you want to keep an eye on. He is another speed guy, and Lewin Diaz has opened up some eyes. The Marlins number 7 prospect there in the 9-hole.
And they will face right-hander Dakota Hudson, and Hudson, so far so good, Brad.
Yeah, quite a year for Dakota Hudson last season. Really turned it on in the second half and is kind of picking up where he left off this spring. And we spent a lot of time yesterday, Dan, on the broadcast talking about the 5th starter job and that competition. Well, for Dakota Hudson, it's about tuning up. It's about getting ready for the regular season because this is a kid who's got a chance to do some special things.
There's a look at his numbers this spring, a record of 1-1. In 3 appearances. One of those has been a start, and he'll get the start here this afternoon. Lance Barksdale is our home plate umpire. He'll be joined by Jerry Meals, David Rackley, and Jeremy Rehak. The defense for St. Louis, Dylan Carlson, the talk of this camp in left field. Harrison Bader in center. Dexter Fowler is in right. Along the infield for St. Louis, Tommy Edman, Paul DeYoung, Colton Wong, Paul Goldschmidt, and behind the plate, the ageless wonder that is Yadier Molina. So here we go. It's the Marlins and the Cardinals. Here's a look at the reigning manager of the year in the National League, and married on Friday night during the off day, the first off day of this spring, Mike Schilt. And in 2 seasons, a .571 winning percentage. Not too shabby.
Yeah, pretty impressive stuff. You know, and I continue to hear, looking at this Cardinals roster, some of these prospects, he's the right man for the job. I mean, he's an organizational guy, and it seems to me that these younger players have, obviously worked with and for Schilt in the minor leagues and are getting to do it and impress him here at the major league level as well.
Jazz Chisholm, the leadoff man for Miami, and there's a look at Don Mattingly, the stable force on the other side for the Marlins. Quickly, no balls and 2 strikes. The key for Dakota Hudson is what, Brad?
Well, it's down. I mean, that's the big thing. We know what Dakota Hudson, his strength is sinkers. His strength is ground balls. His strength is using that defense that was such a big part of the Cardinals' success last year. Dakota Hudson, to me, is one of those guys where during the season, you'll look up and say, man, it's the 8th inning already, and he's only got 80-some-odd pitches. I mean, that's the kind of stuff he has.
And the 0-2 pitch taken for a ball inside.
Hey,
Chisholm hitting .273 this spring, no home runs, and he's driven in 2.
Hey, Brad, is it surprising to see him blossom so quickly? Young man was just drafted a few seasons ago, and he's already a mainstay in this rotation.
Yeah, it really has been, especially how he started off last year. He was very tentative. He was around the zone. And that is one thing that Dakota Hudson has talked about this spring. He wants to clean up is the walks. 86 walks last year was too many free passes. Now, the beauty of it is he's got that sinker. He can get a ground ball, get a double play, but he was probably, and Dan, we talked about this during the year, he was probably a bad start, potentially away from, maybe getting shipped out at one point last year. And then he turned it on. The slider's been great. The sinker's always going to play. And he's got that new swagger. He's got that confidence around him. You mentioned that with Jazz Chisholm earlier, the confidence that he has and the swagger. Dakota's got a little bit of that as well.
Well, it's impressive, and we see right here, just bringing it, 94-mile-an-hour fastball for the first out here in the first inning. But this young man is an answer in the rotation so quickly. He reminds me an awful lot of Sandy Alcantara and what he accomplished for the Marlins last season.
There's John Bertie. And I guess the question around him, is he an everyday player, one of the fastest players in baseball?
Yeah, John has really answered some questions last year. He was such a bright spot, particularly in the second half. You're hoping that John's going to find some consistent at-bats out there, because you're absolutely right. This is guy, he's kind of a dirtbag. He's the guy that he comes out of every game. He might be 0 for 2, a couple of walks, to steal a couple of bases and find a way to score a run, but his uniform is always dirty.
1 ball and 1 strike. The next by Dakota Hudson is popped foul and out of play. Have we reached the dog days of spring training yet, guys?
I think we have. If you ask me, I kind of, you're right there in that spot where, a lot of these guys are starting to prove themselves, find that swing that needs to be on the good 95-mile-an-hour fastball. And for me, it was always like when you found it, you were like, okay, let's move to the season.
Let's go. Yeah, I think we're at the point where we're seeing lineups are looking more like they were going to look on opening day. Guys are past the point now. And look, everybody's schedule is different. But I'm going to sit up there and I'm going to work on things. Now it's about, let's get to my swing. Let's get to season mode. But still 14 games remaining in the spring here for the Cardinals. And opening day is going to be here before we know it.
Right.
1 ball and 2 strikes. And it stays 1-2. Marlins, well, going back to 2019, they have won 21 of their last 30 spring training games. Obviously not an indication of what you're going to do in the regular season, but with a young team, you want to see wins.
Well, and you want to set the tone. I mean, spring training means certainly more to a team like the Marlins than maybe it means to a few other teams. The Cardinals, who have some veteran guys who know how to go through a spring training, know how to kind of work through it. For the Marlins, you had a lot of guys competing for positions.
Back-to-back strikeouts, both swinging here for Dakota Hudson, and it brings in Garrett Cooper.
This one here, just that good tight slider from Dakota Hudson, punched out Chisholm with the fastball. That slider of his, I mean, as a hitter, and Todd, you could talk about this. You worry about trying to split the plate. He's got the sinker that can come in on you. He's got the slider that's going to dart away. Those things coming out of the same tunnel, that's pretty dangerous.
Well, in the depth that you see, it almost has even a little bit of a curveball look to it, but he starts it in the zone, and he's able to drop it out as Birdie went fishing right there and able to pick up the strikeout.
Garrett Cooper, the average distance of his home runs last year, 418 feet, 4th best in the major leagues. So clearly he's got some pop.
Yeah, he's an impressive young man, line-to-line player. He's got the ability to hit the ball out to left, the ability to go to right as well, including his home run here this spring, which was out to right against Noah Syndergaard. Coop, he's fighting for playing time this year, but he's always answered the questions, at least as a Marlin, if he can keep himself healthy.
It's a ball and a strike. Cooper in right field today. Seen him play a little bit of the infield as well. Wind is blowing in from right. We have had an extremely windy 48 hours down here in Florida, and I think generally speaking you can say that about camp too.
Yeah, it really has. The weather has it's been cold, it's been hot. It was only a few days ago we were talking about 95 degrees.
Exactly.
I mean, my goodness.
Here's a 2-1 pitch.
Yeah, you're right, Brad. That's a devastating pitch.
It's
I mean, you
nasty.
see the depth on that the breaking pitch and how it works its way to even the bottom of the zone.
Well, I like the fact, too, that he got to the point last year in the second half where he could kind of throw that in any count. It wasn't just a, hey, I'm ahead, I'm going to throw it. 2-0, that was a good pitch for him.
And doesn't get the call there, so a 2-out walk to Garrett Cooper, and it brings in Matt Joyce. Joyce has been around for a while, and you could see the Marlins kind of sprinkling in some veterans as these young kids come up.
Well, it's very, very important, as you mentioned. Still, majority of the players in camp, young players, guys fighting for time, trying to open the eyes of manager Don Mattingly and his great staff. Players like Matt Joyce, you know, listen, these guys have gotten it done for a very, very long time. They have a very important role to fill, and well, they're asked really to do the toughest job on the field, which is not play every day, but play a couple of times a week, 2, 3, 4 times a week, and then pinch in an awful lot. And that's not an easy job to do in the National League.
And also be a sounding board, I'm sure, for these young kids.
Right. You gotta keep these guys in line as well, right? I call them the older brothers. It's kind of that older brother effect, and it's what you kind of become when you become that 30-year-old guy who's been around for a little while, and Joyce is definitely that. A lot of guys looking to him for counsel and advice and leadership.
Here's a 0-1 in the dirt and kept in front by Yadier Molina. Yadi, you know, he's a guy that you played with and you've watched forever. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, that's how old he is. This old man's played against Yadi. There's no doubt. I remember robbing I think a line drive down the line in St. Louis back in 06, and it was Yadi who was the one who hit it. I mean, this guy has been getting it done. I'm amazed.
It is incredible. He's had a good camp. He's moving very well, still throws so well. 2 strikes now on the hitter, Matt Joyce.
He wants to keep going past this year, is my understanding. Is that correct?
His contract is up at the end of this year, and he said it's either the Cardinals or nothing. And it looks like they'll, I think, do everything in their power to make sure that he stays.
I would think so as well. And he's just one of those guys. You mentioned, we were talking about on the broadcast yesterday, that pep he's got in his step. Like, you could just tell he's feeling it. And a guy that's been doing it as long as he has, no worse for the wear.
Contract year always gets the little more bounce, doesn't it?
It's funny though when you look at him, and it does tend to happen, doesn't it?
Sure, we all fall for that one.
You look at Yadi though, and I mean, look, he's set for life. He's good to go. I think that more so than a contract year, man, he's sniffing a championship.
Sure.
After 3 years of not being in the postseason, and then getting to the NLCS last year, and we all remember how that finished. Not great for the Cardinals, but it was a run again. I feel like he tasted it again. He wants it.
The 1-2 swung on and missed, and 3 strikeouts for Hudson here in the top of the first. Colton Wong leads it off when we come back. Colt Wong at the top of the Cardinal lineup. He's been there a bunch this spring. That may carry over to the regular season. Followed by Tommy Edman and Paul Goldschmidt. Paul DeYoung, Yadier Molina, Dexter Fowler, Tyler O'Neill, Harrison Bader, Dylan Carlson. O'Neill serving as the designated hitter. Pablo Lopez will get the call today for Miami.
Now Pablo looking to continue an impressive, somewhat impressive spring training. You see the 3 walks, 3 strikeouts, 4 2/3 innings. Going to take a little bit more of a step forward. Still the same 4-seam fastball, sinker, change, and curve. Health is always an issue with Lopez. You're hoping for a strong season. This young man is bright. He's got a good arm. He's got good stuff, but they need the consistency that comes with being out there every 5th day.
And he's got an old school look with the stirrups.
He certainly does. That's his style, though. That's how he rolls.
I like it. 0-1 pitch to Wong. And a shift being used here by Miami. And I'm not sure, Brad, that that's the right way to do it anymore against Colton Wong, as he has shown the ability to spray the ball, which he did in the second half of last year, and doing that again here in this spring.
Yeah, we saw it so many times down the wire last year of him shooting the ball right down the third base line and really opening things up for himself. Also has the ability to drop down the bunt. Colton has turned into the complete hitter that we've been expecting. You saw it in spurts throughout the years. Last year, put it all together.
Pops that foul, 1 ball and 2 strikes. A very windy, cool day here at Roger Dean Stadium, Jupiter, Florida. Complex shared by both the Marlins and the Cardinals, just like our telecast today. Todd Hollinsworth, Brad Thompson, Dan McLaughlin with you. 1-2 is fouled back.
Yeah, it's a very good point. I mean, the Marlins are going to play the shift. I mean, it really puts a lot of pressure on Lopez to execute his pitches and to force, Colton Wong to play into the shift. And if he's got the ability, it's interesting. You do it a little bit more with the big guys in the middle of the lineup. I get it. But the leadoff guys, that's harder to do.
Hit by the pitch on a 1-2 delivery. And it brings in Tommy Edman. Ouch.
Catches him right in the back of the calf. That'll be something to kind of keep an eye on as this one goes on. You know that, Todd, those ones that hit you in those meaty spots a little bit later in the game. Maybe you're sitting around and it tightens up on you a little bit.
And I think you kind of battle that, having had it happen to me a number of times with where you're at in spring training. You don't want it to turn it into anything. You certainly don't want to stop playing either. You're in the game today. You've prepared yourself, but you're at that point in spring training where you can still easily recover from something like that, even if it means leaving the game today. But you're right. You just never, especially a guy who depends on his legs as much as he does, want to take one in the calf.
Wouldn't surprise me one bit if we see him exit stage right. Mike Schild, Chris Conroy, the medical team out there. Let's listen in. And he's going to stay in this ball game. So Wong at first base, nobody out, and the batter will be Tommy Edman, the switch hitter that's at third base this afternoon. The Cardinals, the big question mark for many is their offense. So it's about doing some of the little fundamental things, moving runners up, maybe stealing bases. They were very good at that a year ago. And Edman, the kind of guy that can do that just like that. Hit the ball the other way against the shift, and Wong trotting into second base, and the first two are aboard.
You just see it with this swing here from Tommy Edman. That's what he's looking to do. He's looking to just shoot something right back up the box. Great piece of hitting right here, and look, catches one in the middle of the plate, pulls the hands in and shoots it through.
Yeah, it's a very deliberate swing, no doubt about it. He was thinking about going the other way and going towards that hole the entire time.
This to me is how the Cardinals are going to have to manufacture, right? This Goldie is going to be the guy that's driving in a ton of runs, but taking advantage of situations, being able to handle the bat is going to be big. They're not going to out-homer everybody.
Here's Goldschmidt. That one caught Lance Barksdale, and making sure he's all right is Francisco Cervelli, who was signed in the offseason. That's how you curry favor, too. Give him a nice big hug.
That's right.
Don't forget I gave you a hug when that borderline pitch is coming.
No doubt about it. Let me ask you guys, I think people around baseball, people outside of St. Louis, how did Paul Goldschmidt do in St. Louis last year with the first, real big go round?
Slow start, stretches of brilliance for 2-week stretches where you couldn't get him out, and it was not just singles, it was just power. He still wound up with 30-plus homers, close to 100 driven in, and played a Gold Glove type first base. I think the anticipation, Brad, is that now that he's settled into St. Louis, families moved to town, he knows the situation, knows the organization, bigger year expected.
I think so too. Consistency is the biggest key for him. As you mentioned, the overall numbers are there.
That's lined off the glove of Birdie, and Wong will score easily. Edman, who can fly on his way to third. Pop Warner will wave him in. Goldschmidt drives in 2-0 St. Louis here in the first on a bullet down that left field line.
But get him on, get him over, and get him in right here. Pulls the hands in, crushes this thing right down the left field line, and just a hair short right there. Birdie almost had that one.
Yeah, good effort by Birdie, but a rocket into the corner. Unfortunately for the Marlins, already a hole. Down 2-0 here in the first inning.
I think a question, too, for the Cardinals with Goldschmidt, who hits behind him? What type of protection in the lineup will he have? And it might be the guy at the plate. This is Paul DeJong, who's had a fabulous spring and coming off of 30 home runs a year ago. As that gets by Cervelli, and Goldschmidt will advance to third.
I think that we might end up seeing, well, every manager, I believe, would love to just know what their order looks like, be able to roll out at the very least 1 through 4, 1 through 5, and have very little change. But I don't think the Cardinals are going to have that luxury. I think that there's going to be some mixing and matching. There's going to be matchups in general that they'll play, and kind of see who grabs a hold of each spot. But it is interesting, a team that won the division, so many question marks early in the order.
On a hop to short, Goldschmidt stays put at third, and there is the first out. The batter will be Yadier Molina. Look at the defense here, Todd, for Miami.
Yeah, let's get you the Marlins defensively. Brinson getting the start in left, Harrison in center. Cooper getting the start in right field. Birdie, Chisholm, Diaz, and Diaz. And there's your right side of the infield. Cervelli does the catching. Pablo Lopez on the mound.
Don Mattingly back, signed a 2-year deal in the offseason, the longest tenured manager in Marlins history.
Yeah, just to the extension, you're right. And here you go. It kind of speaks to the job that he has done and the transition. Very, very impressive stuff from Don Mattingly.
Marlins bring the infield in for Yadier Molina, and that pitch taken for a ball outside. Molina hitting .231 this spring, no home runs, and he's driven in 1. Mattingly is also only 5 wins away from matching Jack McKeon as the winningest manager in franchise history.
Well, if I were a betting man, I think that's going to happen.
I would say so. Put it this way, it better happen.
Well, and I think what's really impressed, at least me, and I know a lot of people around the team, is that Don has handled different types of expectations. Not that winning hasn't always been that, but when you look at what the team has been, what the roster was originally, even when I came over to the Marlins, when we were talking about Giancarlo Stanton and others, to what they are now in rebuilding this team, he's still the answer.
Up the middle and a base hit off the bat of Molina. Goldschmidt will score, and it's 3-0 St. Louis.
Yachty just catches this one up in the zone, shoots it right back where it came from, and look, he had to hit that hard. Defense, infield was in right there. That thing hit a few feet to the right. That's probably caught.
Let's go, Dexter.
Now Dexter Fowler, the switch hitting right fielder for the Cardinals, .087 his spring average. We'll mention how this is kind of the dog days of spring, but this is also a time where you want to see guys start to maybe amp it up a little bit. And that's
turn the
case
corner
here with Dexter Fowler.
Well, there might be more riding in the, at least from my perspective, in the Cardinals outfield on Dexter Fowler than it would be, or maybe the way to say it is it should be on the younger prospects. I mean, Dexter, he's the vet. He's the guy who signed the long-term deal. And he's the one that carries the expectations that come along with that long-term deal. And, you know, the way things are, I mean, you look at the infield, and I know Carpenter's not playing today, but there's, you know, big leaguers that everybody identifies with. I think there's some young prospects out there, but the veteran is Dexter.
0-2 the count on Fowler. Shift on the right side of the infield, and the 0-2 swung on and missed, and Fowler strikes out. First strikeout for Pablo Lopez.
Yeah, reaching back for just a little bit right there, working at the thighs on that outside edge. No real messing around with Dexter.
Tyler O'Neill, good camp, couple of home runs, .273 his batting average. And that's the pitch there, Brad, that he has just not been going after. He's been laying off that pitch, and that is a key for him. When he swings the bat, he does damage, but do it with pitches in the zone.
That's it. And the key is, to me, when I'm watching him, it's not just the fact that he's taking that pitch. It's the way that he is taking it. Not leaning over and almost swinging. It's taking it with a purpose. It's recognizing the pitch. And it's a hard thing to do. I mean, Holly, you know this. I mean, these guys are as good as they get.
Right.
And everything's coming out of the same arm slot. That pitch recognition, sometimes it takes a while.
Well, and you're absolutely right with how he takes that pitch. I mean, that's such a big point. I'm not sure all fans really even understand that, because they a lot of times will just see it as a ball. But when you watch a hitter and that front foot just kind of comes forward a little bit, but he's sitting on that backside, he recognizes the pitch, he sees it down, he doesn't flinch with his hands, it's a ball and he's in a good spot. When the body goes after it, the hands are all over the place, and he just barely holds up.
That's pulled foul.
it may still be a ball, but he could very easily still be in trouble, and a pitcher will see that. I mean, pitchers react to flinching and visual aids that they see with hitters all the time, so they're going to go right at him that way.
Situation like that, you get him out there, and then you got him off balance, and all of a sudden you open up the entire inner half against somebody. So the balance there, the approach has been a lot different for O'Neill.
Taps it foul. It stays 1-2 with 2 outs and a runner at first base. Cardinals have had a remarkable run of sustained winning under John Mozeliak, the president of baseball operations. He's never had a losing season at the helm. That's over a decade, and the only team that can lay claim to that, the Yankees. And they're doing it with guys like this, prospects that turn into major league players. And at some point, you would think the rest of the baseball world might catch on that this front office has done a pretty darn good job.
Yeah, I'll tell you who's catching on are the minor leaguers, because the minor leaguers are entering the organization through the draft or through trades, and they're coming over here with expectations like, man, I can't drop the ball. They do nothing but win over here.
And the Marlins are trying to do that, build sustained winning under Derek Jeter and that regime. And he stayed away from that pitch again, so now 3-2 the count.
I think you saw it in that take there, even with 2 strikes, just the confidence to see it out of the hand, know that it was down, and not even flinch.
Derek Jeter running the show with the Miami Marlins. 3-2, and it's swung on and missed. So back-to-back strikeouts for Pablo Lopez, but the Cardinals pick up 3 early runs. Baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you in part by Budweiser. Wherever legendary MLB moments happen, Budweiser will be there. Buy Shelter Insurance for your auto, home, and life. Wear your shield, wear your shelter. And by your local Kia dealers. Visit KiaDealers.com to see what it means to give it everything. Share telecast, Fox Sports Florida, Fox Sports Midwest. It's 3-0 Cardinals. Todd Hollinsworth, Brad Thompson. I'm Dan McLaughlin. As we move to the top of the second, Lewis Brinson, Isan Diaz, and Francisco Cervelli for Miami. A big crowd. Facility that holds about 7,000 roughly. And here is Lewis Brinson. Last year, 75 games, hit below 200. Where are the Marlins with this top prospect?
Well, Lewis Brinson is answering some questions this spring. But here's the thing. He's answered questions in spring before, and I think that's really where it stands. If he were to come into spring training this year and not play at the level he's playing at right now, leading the team in home runs, doing some good things, swinging the bat very well.
Little flare into shallow right coming on. It is Fowler, won't get there. That's Tommy Edman backing up, who moved to second base. Wong is out of the game, and Edmundo Sosa took over at third after Wong was hit by a pitch. So Brinson picks up a double.
Well, I think Lewis picked up some help here with the wind howling in from right field, and Dexter Fowler maybe just a bit of a late break, and then as he closed, not enough to get there. And a leadoff double for Lewis Brinson. He continues his hot spring.
Yeah, Brinson hustling for sure, but you're absolutely right. Dexter got a bad jump on that thing, was waiting. You know the wind is howling in. Going to be a tough play even if you get the right jump. And I'm guessing with Colton Wong as regards to Tommy Edman playing second, hey, as you mentioned before, look, better safe than sorry. It's spring training. Let's take care of that thing.
Isan Diaz, second baseman. And fouled back for strike one.
Now you're talking about prospects and guys who, you want to see crank it up just a little bit. Isan certainly opened some eyes last year. You see the 23 RBIs in 49 games, had some really good games down the stretch, but needs to answer some questions in spring training. I don't think anything is necessarily being handed to Isan, but most Marlins fans know that, listen, this team looks really good if he's in there and he's playing second base. They'd love to see him heat up. He's had a little bit of a slow spring.
1 pitch. Popped up. And that'll find the seats out of play. Well, the idea has been with the Marlins, Get the prospects in, then develop them, and all of a sudden you've got something to build upon year after year after year. Most national publications have the Marlins farm system in the top 5 of baseball.
Oh, and the leap that they made last year, they were about middle of the pack at the beginning of the year, and by the end of the year, they were top 5. I mean, it's been impressive what they've been able to accomplish. Just a stable of outfielders and, you know, young hitters, some young guns. Sixto Sanchez, man, oh man, that kid can bring it, and what a changeup he's got. But yes, you're absolutely right. But I think the transition is going to have to happen at some point. It's subtle right now. You're seeing some of these younger players starting to, you know, sprinkle into the major league roster. But at some point, you're going to see a pretty significant turnover.
And maybe pressure isn't the right word, but there's a lot that falls on your developmental system now, too. I mean, you get all these prospects in. It's about coaching them up. It's about getting them to the next level, because you got raw clay, right? And it's about molding them and getting them here and keeping them here.
Right. Yeah, listen, every organization has their favorites when it comes to their minor league prospects, or you know, who's at the top, and, you know, who maybe gets a little more leash, as we like to say in the industry. But the one thing the Marlins really wanted to develop over the last 2 seasons was internal competition. I know that the Cardinals have it certainly in their outfield and the number of prospects they've got. The Marlins have it in a lot of levels. And when you're looking next to the guy to your right and to your left, and you're saying, we're all fighting for the same job, it brings out the best in all of us.
Francisco Cervelli, this his 13th major league season. And a pickoff and back in safely. Lewis Brinson. That strikeout for Dakota Hudson was his 4th of the afternoon. Got Jorge Alfaro do the majority of the catching for Miami, and a guy like Cervelli has come in, and again, a veteran that can help along the way.
And I think Cervelli is just a tremendous compliment. This is a young man. Oh yeah, he's a young man. We're old guys up here. Francisco's had a very, very nice career, and certainly has accomplished a lot. Is a former Pittsburgh Pirate. I saw tons of him in the NL Central, and have watched an awful lot of his career. And the value, I think, is more than just maybe the numbers you'll see in the batting average or the home runs that he hits this year, but in helping Alfaro understand what it takes to be a 140-game catcher.
Here's an 0-1 pitch by Dakota Hudson with a runner at second. Kept in front again by Molina. He was on those very good Pirate teams that went to postseason play. He was also on some good Yankee teams as well prior to that.
I think it's interesting, you know, I think it was last year that Cervelli was really kind of dealing with some of those rumors that were floating around him about continuing his catching career because of the concussions that he had sustained throughout his career. It's good to see him in a Marlins uniform, because I still think he's got an awful lot in the tank.
Also dealt with some hand issues over the years too, broken bones. Had to go to a unique bat, which is developed actually in St. Louis, and now many major leaguers are using that with the knob of the handle, for lack of a better term, but bent a little bit.
So the axe bat.
Yeah, it helps out the hand. They've actually seen with those bats, exit velocities have been just a tick or two higher, and a tick or two can mean a base hit here or there.
I picked up that axe bat a few different times, and I'll tell you, it feels like you're swinging an axe. It really does, because it just kind of has that whip that's naturally at the end of your bat. And, you know, we were hitting back in the day, and we kind of just had your standard bat. You're always trying to create that whip, because that's what you want, that little pop in your hands. And, well, the axe bat kind of helps you do it anyway. It's natural.
1 ball and 2 strikes. Francisco Cervelli. And it's held on to by Molina. Another strikeout. That's 5 already for Dakota Hudson.
Tell you what, great response to a leadoff little double down the line. A pair of strikeouts to keep Brinson sitting there at second base. Still got a little bit of work to do, but a nice tight slider right there on the outer half to Cervelli.
All 5 strikeouts have been swinging this far for Hudson. Now Monte Harrison. Lewis Brinson, the runner at second base. 3-0 our score. A lot of swing and misses here early on, Brad.
It just kind of tells you the ball is jumping right there. The 2-seam is just down in the zone. The bottom is falling out of it, and all of a sudden you think you're geared up for that, and he's got the slider going the other way. And everything is looking like a strike, and then it drops off.
Harrison hitting .389 this spring. No home runs. He's driven in 3. And time granted very late. That is not going to make the man on the mound very happy.
That bothers you a little bit with that. And a lot of times you don't know what to do with it, right? Like do I stop totally? And I don't want to tip my hand and throw one up there to let you know what was coming.
Well, Yachty blocks that ball in the dirt. From the hitter's perspective, don't ever blame the hitter. Hitter may ask for it, but the home plate umpire is the one who gave it to him.
Yeah, he's the one that's got it granted, right?
It's always so funny. I always notice fans' reaction to that as if the hitter had something to do with it. Well, the hitter calls time, but the home plate umpire has to grant it. He also doesn't have to grant it if he so chooses.
We all know it's the hitter's fault, though.
I had a feeling you'd end up there.
Yeah, just it was something else to get angry about on the mound.
Right.
And the 1-1 pitch taken low, 2-1. Marlins last year 57 and 105, last place finish in the East, 40 games back in the division, most by the franchise since finishing 52 out of first place back in 1998. So Don Mattingly, he's talked about the fact that, yeah, we've struggled in the win column, but yet you get to teach at this level, which a lot of times you don't get the chance to do.
Well, yeah, and you're sharpening your teeth against the National League East, which is not a walk in the park by any stretch of the imagination.
There's a fly ball. Wynn will knock that near the line, and over to get it, Dexter Fowler. Marlins strand a runner. Cardinals coming up in the home half of the second with Bader, Carlson, and the top of the order. Second inning for Pablo Lopez with Todd Hollinsworth and Brad Thompson. I'm Dan McLaughlin. One of our shared telecasts down here in spring training on Fox Sports Midwest and Fox Sports Florida. Cardinals got 3 runs in the first inning as Bader spins away from ball 1. Pitches 205 last year, 128 games. At one point was sent down to Memphis and then came back. Memphis, the AAA affiliate of the St. Louis Cardinals. And it's 1 ball and 1 strike.
Well, you see all that Harrison can do in the field. I mean, he saves you runs left and right. And when he does, have been sent down, he tears up AAA as well. It's about just getting it to translate to the big league level. And a lot like we were talking about with Tyler O'Neill, it's pitch recognition, right? It's the slider down and away. It's that next step for him. And with speed like he has, it's about putting the ball in play. Right? You can make stuff happen. You can put pressure on the opposition.
2-2. Todd, how about for you? When you're a very good minor league player and then making the transition to the big leagues, what's the final step, especially at the plate?
Well, finding where you fit in is that was always big for me when I came up with the Los Angeles Dodgers, because I think you look at Bader and you're saying, okay, this kid could do a lot of different things, and you're right. I think contact is probably part of it. But, athletes are typically multi-dimensional. They can do different things. He's got some gap power. I mean, the home runs tell you that he can hit the ball over the fence as well. So you have to identify who you are and what you're supposed to be for the Cardinals. And I think that message has probably been delivered. Sometimes it's just as simple as taking pressure off the guy, maybe that second or third year, and going out there and playing and knowing what you need to be. I think, we probably could use Colton Wong as a pretty good example of that, for a kid who, for a while, was trying to figure out his offensive game and really came into form last year, just understanding contact is more important than me trying to hit the ball out of the yard.
So the Cardinals minor league player of the year, Dylan Carlson. He's among the league leaders in most offensive categories this spring. And I mean in Major League Baseball, not just with the Cardinals. He's had a tremendous spring. Left, center, and right field. .417 average. The no home runs. He's driven in 1, but as we've seen, he's done a lot of the little things along the way.
He looks the part, doesn't he? I mean, in every aspect of what they want him to. He's been very good in the field, runs the bases well. Dan, I know you're around him quite a bit. He carries himself like a big leaguer already, and we know whether it's opening day or at some point during the season, it's inevitable. He's going to be here and he's going to make a big time impact.
There's no question.
Can he fight his way onto the opening day roster?
It's still a question. I mean, I think it's still in play at this point. I know that's probably the biggest question for fans. This is a guy that's exciting the Cardinal fan base. You let Ozuna go, you let Martinez go to Tampa Bay. Who fills in? A lot of excitement around this young man, and you can understand why. 2 strikes on Dylan Carlson.
Well, especially when you look at the Cardinals offense overall as an area of need. I mean, they need somebody to be able to step up. Now, as we were talking about earlier, there are candidates for bounce back. There are more consistent years, hopefully for a few different guys. But I see why everybody, and I'm in that camp of excitement around Dylan Carlson.
The 1-2 pitch, and Carlson fights it off and hits it out of play. Now, on the flip side of all that, too, when you get excited about a young man, he's only played 18 games at AAA. Now, he had a tremendous season at AA, Springfield affiliate, 2020 man, player of the year in the Texas League. But still, if he comes up, he's not there to sit. He's there to play.
Right. I think that's the answer. And
rolls over on an off-speed pitch. They will get the lead runner back to first, and not in time. You don't bring somebody up to sit like that.
Well, yeah, right. That's the point. I think that whether it's AAA or it's here, I think that Cardinals fans realize he needs to be playing every day, and that's the ultimate answer to the situation, to the puzzle that is the Cardinals roster right now.
And that'll be a question mark for the Marlins, too, as many of these young players start to develop. They're on the doorstep of Major League Baseball. If and when they come up, they're there to stay, not to sit. Here's Edmundo Sosa filling in for Colton Wong, who was hit by a pitch. So some of the top prospects. Todd, how about for you on the left there?
Yeah, it's a very exciting group. You see Sixto Sanchez, I've mentioned him already today. Big arm, great changeup. J.J. Bleday, he certainly opened some eyes as well. He's going to be a big leaguer at some point. It's a great list of guys for us. That's our top five, and the list is growing. That's what excites most Marlins fans.
List growing for St. Louis, too. Dylan Carlson in this game. And then two guys that are best friends since Little League. Nolan Gorman, Matthew Libator, and reunited in the Cardinal organization.
Well, pretty cool that happened for the two of them, and it's great for the Cardinal organization to have them both. Nolan Gorman has shown a lot in just a couple of years already. He's got just an aggression to his swing. I just really enjoy watching him go about his business, and I think he's getting better and better at the position over at third base. And Matthew Libator, I know that his first outing in spring wasn't a great one. Look, it was a learning experience, and he's bounced back really well. You can see why the organization and baseball overall is so high on him.
Sosa, soft liner, caught at second by Diaz, and back to the bag at first goes Dylan Carlson. Carlson undoubtedly a threat to steal, a 2020 man last year in the minor leagues. Cardinals have not been running nearly as much as they have in years past in spring, but I'm sure that'll change regular season play, as they were one of the top base stealing teams in all of baseball in 2019. Tommy Edman singled and scored back in the first inning, part of a 3-run first. That pitch taken outside.
Pablo Lopez has done a pretty nice job settling down after that rough first inning. He made some pitches, a couple of strikeouts. Fowler and O'Neill to end the first.
Just a bit high, and it's 2-0. Paul Goldschmidt on deck. You're right, the National League East, it's tough. I mean, the Phillies, Washington, they win the World Series. He had the Braves, who won the division, all going to be very good this year.
Right. You're absolutely right, and they continue to improve. Most of these teams, Zach Wheeler, he leaves the Mets, and you say, okay, well, whew, thank goodness for that, and he just moves right on over to Philly.
Just a train ride to Philly.
Still get to deal with him.
3-0 on Tommy Edman. Now 3-2. Dylan Carlson off with this next pitch. Ball in the gap. He can score from first with his speed.
Let's go, Tommy. Big hit.
There's a big gap in right center, so they shade him opposite way. There goes Carlson. The 3-2 pitch is a grounder hit to the right side. Glove there by Diaz. Lopez to the bag and the out. Leadoff walk erased. We played 2. 3-0 Cardinals.
400 feet to straightaway center field. It's a reduction of 8 feet and 387 now in right center field. So maybe a little bit more offense for the Marlins at home at Marlins Park this season.
And we welcome you back on Fox Sports Midwest, Fox Sports Florida. Todd Hollandsworth, Brad Thompson, Dan McLaughlin with you. It is 3-0 in favor of St. Louis. Diaz, Chisholm, and Birdie for the Marlins. So this is the second time, right, that they have brought in the wall, if you will.
It is.
At Marlins Park. Well, you had a team for a while. You didn't really need to bring it in when you had Stanton and Yelich and Ozuna.
Oh, right. It is, you know, Marlins Park has been a tough place to hit, generally speaking, for quite some time. So they brought the fences in, thought that it might help maybe the left-handed hitters just a little bit. You don't see too many, well, even opposite field home run. You know, guys, you know, righties that can maybe take the ball out to right center field. As much as the ball was jumping last year, we just didn't see an awful lot of that. And I think that, you know, they're doing their best to, you know, help the offense out a little bit. This is a team that struggled last year. 257 batting average. They struggled with runners in scoring position. 29 home runs.
Good pitch again. What's it like being around Don Mattingly, Donnie Baseball, every single day?
It's a joy. It really is. I mean, to watch him work, to watch him relate to the players today. As I mentioned earlier, you know, early on, you know, his team was different. Expectations were different. I mean, if you even look at Donnie's career as a manager, you know, coming from the Dodgers over to the Marlins, and, you know, obviously some of those expectations clearly transitioning. I mean, he had a talented group when he first got to the Marlins, but a team that was, you know, slightly flawed, at least as far as the starting pitching was concerned, or organizational depth. But I also think it speaks to the character of a man when you've got somebody, and again, I don't think a lot of teams do this any longer. You have somebody who you believe could lead you to the postseason, and you also have somebody that you believe could help raise some of your kids, not only in the minor leagues, but some of these young major leaguers, you know, these rookies that you're going to put on your team. He's being asked to do that as well, and I think it speaks volumes to the job that he's done. You know, most teams will typically transition out of their manager if they decide to make the move that the Marlins made.
Into right, and Fowler this time is there as he was playing a little bit more in. Ball near the line, and the first out off the bat of Lewin Diaz. Don Mattingly from Cardinal Country, which is Evansville, Indiana, and he is held in such high regard around baseball, and certainly in that part of the country too. And why not?
Donnie Baseball.
You got it.
We share a birthday.
And is he slightly older than you?
Just a little bit.
Okay.
That's okay.
Young at heart.
Indeed.
Chisholm at the plate. He struck out his first time up. First time through the lineup for Dakota Hudson of the Cardinals, and 5 strikeouts. Had 10 swings and misses that first time through the lineup.
Dakota is just so in control of himself right now. You remember early on in the season where you'd see that front shoulder fly off a little bit. His direction would go off. Every once in a while you'll get one. There's one right there. Kind of arm flies off. He does a great job now of correcting it. See here, 2-0 count. Not where he wants to be. He's going to take a little step back, make sure his mechanics are in order, and bury one down in the zone.
The 2-0 pitch. Just like that.
That's it. It's about adjustments, and that's a big thing, man. A lot of times young pitchers will make the same mistake over and over again, and maybe you make an adjustment the next game. Maybe you make it the next inning, but the ones that are truly going to get to where they want to get faster, the guys that make an adjustment pitch to pitch.
Comes back, evens it up. It's now 2-2.
Now, does that come through, Brad, does that come through instruction, or does that come through just mere experience?
I think it's both. Okay. I really think it is. Sometimes, for me, it always took me like seeing myself do it. I go back and watch a video. I'm like, oh my God, I'm doing that. I thought I had that figured out. But you got to know your tells, right? Like if you miss arm side, you got to know what creates that and what causes that. And you can get that coached. You know, Maddox talks to him, say, hey, this is what's happening here. But you have to know yourself, too. So I think it's a nice combination of the two of them. But knowing yourself as a pitcher, and it's the same, I'm sure, as a hitter. You talked about that earlier, you know, in the game. You got to know who you are. You got to know what your strengths are, and you got to know how to get back to the guy that you were.
The 2-2 in the dirt. That previous pitch pulled right back past Billy Hatcher, who is a new coach with the Marlins this year. First base coach, long time Cincinnati Red.
Yeah, good to see Hatch. He's been around an awful long time as well. He was my first base coach with the Reds, my brief time there. He's a good man, a baseball lifer.
3-2 pitch. And he walked him. So 1-out walk. John Birdie will be the batter now for Miami. And some new faces with that coaching staff that maybe you can tell the Marlin fans about.
Well, it's exciting. I mean, we start with Hatch, but you're right. There's been some changes with the staff. Tim Wallach is now at home, and we've had some new guys come on board. And it doesn't change the direction or the idea of what this organization is going to be. Still, the message is very clear, but you love to have some experience with some of your coaches. That always helps. I grew up as I mentioned a little earlier, grew up in L.A. I mean, I had Tommy Lasorda as my manager. I had Joey Amalfitano and some of the greats, that again, were baseball lifers. They teach you so much, but at the same time, they help instill confidence in you because you just got so much experience around you.
So John Birdie at the plate. Todd Hollandsworth, former Rookie of the Year, one in a long line of Dodgers that won the Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, that's right. 5 in a row. I was the 5th. 1996. We'll see if that can happen again. I don't know.
I don't know if that could happen. That's tough. This day and age.
Think about that.
Yeah.
It is pretty amazing, though, what the Dodgers continually come up with as far as guys. You got to Seager, Bellinger, Gavin Lux. There's a lot of excitement around him right now. You never know.
You guys, again, so perfectly talk about the prospects and the opportunities with this young Cardinals outfield and expectations that come along with it. You also mentioned the Cardinal way, over the last 10 or so years of winning and expectation. As a former Dodger, I would not be telling you the truth if listen, winning the Rookie of the Year was a bit of an expectation. And when you're in the system and you get the opportunity, you don't let them down.
Well, there is something to the Cardinal way.
Right.
And I know some people say, oh, come on. No, there is something, the expectation, how you're taught the game, both on and off the field. And that's what Derek Jeter's trying to, I'm sure, instill.
Definitely. We've even referred to it as the Marlin way.
Into shallow right and a base hit. They'll test Fowler, and his throw to third is right on the money. Strong throw, Dexter Fowler on a hop to Sosa for out number 2.
But Dexter not wasting any time here. I mean, this thing, he comes up throwing. He sees the play developing in front of him. Nice hop here, and aggressive base running.
Yeah, certainly aggressive base running. I mean, you've got to take into consideration all the factors. You saw it right there with Dexter Fowler. We've talked about it. The flag behind Dexter is blowing straight in. So Dexter, on any right-handed hitter, really is moving in. He was playing a shallow field right there. And so that became an easy throw to third base and a second out for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Garrett Cooper. It's it out of play. There was that win-aided double by Lewis Brinson, and then right after that you saw Fowler move in a good 5-10 feet.
Yeah, you got to make a mental note as a player right there. That's just what you would call a rookie mistake. I mean, you got to know where your outfielders are, and Dexter was making that throw from about deep second.
He's playing very shallow here, even with the power of Garrett Cooper. The 0-1 pitch by Dakota Hudson. Long look with Bertie, a threat to steal, and now he steps off. He has got speed. According to StatCast, his average sprint speed is 29.8 feet per second. That's 12th fastest in the majors. The average is 27 feet per second.
Yeah, and as I tell Bertie, he does it so well because he gets to top speed so quickly.
And the 0-1 pitch.
You know how some players, it's like they're made for the game of baseball. The 90 feet just fits their game perfectly. Like, I was 45 feet to first base before I was hitting top speed. It was just the way my body is. I'm 6'2". I'm a bigger guy, and that's the way it works. But Birdie's 2 steps out of the box, and I mean, he is flying down that line.
What does that do, Brad, for a pitcher right now? How much is that going to speed up Dakota Hudson?
Well, the big thing is you got to make sure you stay in your delivery, but you're very deliberate. You know that guy's got a lot of speed. So a lot of times it's not about changing how quick you are to the plate. He's fairly quick anyhow. It's varying your looks. It's varying the timing. It's about slowing it down, because all you need him to do, Birdie over there at first base, is just feel stuck just for a second, because I mean, that's the difference.
See if he wants to run on a count of 2-1. He's not running, and a strike is taken to even it up at 2-2. That's the thing about Yadier Molina too. Even through all the wear and tear, the arm is still there. And talking with Tim McCarver the other day, he said that's the thing that impresses me the most. A catcher will lose how well he throws first thing, and then it affects your footwork. He said Yadi is just not, he's not deficient in that category. Still throwing well. The 2-2.
Yeah, I don't have him aging very much. I don't know how he continues to do this as
incredible.
a catcher. I mean, I've been really amazed at his career, and it certainly speaks to everything that he's accomplished. I mean, the trophy chest is full, as we would say, right? But how is it that he has played to the age of 37 and is still catching close to 130 games a year and producing at the level he's produced?
He'll be in the top 3 all-time in games played, Cardinals history, after about a week and a half of this season. Runner goes on the 3-2 and 2 outs, and that's hit out of play.
Well, you know, that's been the conversation the last couple of years, even, you know, before the trade of Carson Kelly that ended up bringing Paul Goldschmidt in, is how are you going to get somebody else in and kind of share the time a little bit and, you know, usher another catcher in? Well, Yadi always talks about it. He prepares for this. He prepares to catch 162. While that isn't going to happen, he's not going to catch every single game. He wants to. I mean, and he is ready to be out there all the time. And I tell you that one day, you know, if that timeshare type thing has to happen, I'm not sure I'd want to have the conversation, because he loves it so much. And
I don't think you want
so
to have
bad.
that. He wants to play.
And right now, with the way that he's doing it, why not roll him out there? You do your thing.
Now, no disrespect to all the backup catchers that have come through St. Louis, but he's had an effect on a few's career.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean.
A guy at first base did that for over a decade,
right,
too.
Right.
When Albert Pujols.
Steal all the playing time. Didn't get a little rusty.
3-2 pitch again by Hudson. And a ground ball hit to Sosa left side. Stays with it and makes the play. Strong throw by Dexter Fowler. He was playing in on a hop to Sosa. 3-0 midway through 3. Cardinal fans start a 2-year subscription to Cardinals Magazine. Take home the exclusive Yadier Molina bobblehead. Available just for subscribers, or you can register for 1 year. Receive 2 tickets to a home game. So don't wait. Sign up today, 345-9000. Or visit cardinals.com/publications. Here's a 1-0 pitch to Paul Goldschmidt to lead it off in the home half of the third. DeYoung to follow, and then Yadier Molina. Goldschmidt with an RBI double off the glove of the third baseman Birdie, that scored 2 back in the first. Hits it sharply to Birdie again, and there's 1 away. Biggest question marks, Todd, for the Marlins coming into the season with all this young talent that they have in the minor leagues, and some of that already here in the big leagues. What is it?
Now, that's a good question that you're asking me, and I think there's a lot of different ways of looking at it. If you want to get specific, I mean, I think the idea is that you're going to improve offensively right off the top. To put numbers with that, I don't want to sit here and say that they need to hit more home runs, although they need to hit more home runs. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, and that's the idea. The one thing that we've seen so far this spring is that they continue to pitch, and that has been the conversation much about the starting pitching last year, sustaining them, giving them an opportunity to win ball games. They have that going again. They have a great starting staff. They have good young arms. They've got guys who are coming up. That is definitely going to be the backbone of this team. They need to score some more runs. I also think they probably need to improve a little bit defensively. I felt like in some regards they maybe took a little bit of a step back last year, kind of fell back to the middle of the pack where they've traditionally been more of a top 10 team. A lot of that has to do with the type of roster you've got. But if that does develop, that's a place you can certainly improve and make up some ground.
2-1 the count on Paul DeJong. He evens it up at 2-2. First time up, had a runner at third, nobody out, couldn't bring him in on a hard hit ground ball to short. Marlins shift to the left for Paul DeJong, who was kidding with us the other day. He went 2 for 3, and he said that's tough because my average went down.
It's a good problem to have, isn't it?
Real good problem to have. That's the kind of spring he's had.
Well, and you were talking about it earlier, the importance of having somebody, not just somebody, but a force, a presence behind Paul Goldschmidt in the order. I think about it from a pitcher's perspective. Why would I throw to Goldie? Why would I pitch to him if I don't believe the guy behind can hurt me? You know, it's big.
Well, 30 home runs last year, I believe career high, if that's right. All-star. I mean, he answered an awful lot of questions, certainly caught a lot of attention on the National League side of things.
Here's Molina, singled to center field. Picked up a run batted in, his second of the spring, back in the first inning. 1 for 1 today. Dexter Fowler on deck. How far will Don Mattingly go with Pablo Lopez? And maybe I'm getting my answer right now as they get activity started. At least guys getting up down in the Miami bullpen.
Yeah, you think back to that first inning, and there was some bullets thrown in that first inning. I mean, it wasn't a clean inning. Yes, he had the 3 runs. He did strike out a couple. He faced a number of hitters, but I think it probably changes, you know, what they were hoping for Pablo today. He's already 57 pitches. Here in the bottom of the third, he's had to labor. His control has been off. It's been good at times, but it has not been consistent enough, and that's really been the story of this spring for him.
Here's an 0-1 pitch. DeJong, the runner at first base. If there's ever a hit and run candidate when he's at the plate, it's Yadier Molina. Brad, we've seen it time and again, the bat control that he uses.
Well, I just love seeing anytime when Yadi's up a wide open right side.
Exactly.
Because he's just as good as anybody in the game of baseball shooting the ball that way.
Can even see there how he took that pitch where the hands were situated. He'll try. It's by design. He's going to try to go to right.
Yeah. There's a number of Cardinal hitters who kind of combat the idea of the shift and that defense that's being played against them. A couple of years ago, many hitters in the game, they were, I'm not ready to forfeit my power. I'm a pull hitter. I'm not going to change my ways. And you're starting to see more and more hitters. I really think over the last year or so, we've seen more hitters. I think Anthony Rizzo, you could speak to him in the Central. I certainly have seen it enough. He'll drop down a bunt to the left side. Sure. He'll shoot it the other way. Of course, Yadi's been doing it his entire career. I was thinking back to the first inning. Edman shooting the ball right up the middle, with that hole open at short.
1 ball and 1 strike on Yadier Molina. Runner goes, and there it was, the hit and run.
Cardinals this season, and they did it last year. I mean, creativity, I guess, is the wrong word, but a small ball, I mean, is going to have to be part of it. Manufacturing runs. There were too many times over, the last couple of years where meat was left on the bone. The Cardinals had runners out there. They weren't able to get them over, certainly weren't able to get them in, and it's got to get better. It's got to get a lot better.
1 ball and 2 strikes on Yadier Molina. In the air, out to deep right field, sending Cooper near the line, and he makes the catch. That ball was knocked down, and hustling back to first. Oh, what a pick! What a pick by Diaz as DeJong was hustling back, but not in time. Great defensive play there by Cooper and Diaz.
Yeah, the Cardinals Up 3-0. Pretty nifty double play into the last inning. Great play by Cooper in right field. Good running catch toward the line and a good throw back to Diaz at first base. Made things rather interesting. Kind of stunned everybody a little bit.
Matt Joyce at the plate for the Marlins. Cardinals will get some activity going in their bullpen. It's Junior Fernandez starting to throw, and that's strike one. Dakota Hudson has struck out 5. That was a terrific play by Cooper, battling the wind to make that catch, and then the pick by Lewin Diaz at first base. Not an easy pick at all.
No, not at all. So some good defense from the Marlins and a good play by Coop. The wind really howling in right. We've seen Dexter Fowler dealing with it.
Yep.
Coop got to deal with it right there and then comes up with a good strong throw to first base to get the double play.
I'm not sure we've seen anybody camped under a fly ball yet.
You know, there's an element of trust. You see the flag, you see it when you pull, you know, right? We've all been taught. We pick the grass, we throw it up in the wind, we see what it does, and we tell ourselves that this is how it's going to be. And
speaking of picks, wow, what a great play protecting the guys warming up in the Cardinal bullpen. That's a pick with a catcher's mitt.
I mean, that's an important
play of the
job
day right
there.
now.
Yeah, I mean, it's still early, but this is a big gig. Look, a lot of times somebody's protecting the catcher over there. Maybe they're looking in the stands, thinking about dinner. No.
Great play. Hit the other way, and sinking and caught in left field by Dylan Carlson.
Well, just stop it. My goodness. That Joyce can't get a hit in foul territory or fair territory.
It's a tough AB.
Yeah, right?
Everybody's robbing you.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, you got to be kidding me. This is spring training for crying out loud. Well, a line drive to right. Here's a line drive to left. Nice running catch. Got a good read on that.
Dylan Carlson has done just about everything right in this camp. Plays like that.
He's got good instincts. It's about the jump on that one. If he gets a late jump, that thing's dropping in front of him. And then if he attacks it, who knows? I mean, maybe it ends up behind him. The little details.
Listen, as a player, you go into camp and you try to impress, and listen, you realize that it's more than just swinging the bat. And I think that's what the young guys in the game today realize, that there is such a value, such a premium placed on good infield defense, outfield defense, running the base as well. And from what you two have told me, I mean, he has been impressive. And so far, we've seen that, right? I mean, great running catch, good solid, ABs, good approach. This young man has had himself quite a spring.
A ball and a strike on Lewis Brinson, who doubled. A ball that fell shy of Dexter Fowler. This one will send Fowler back a few steps, and he'll make the catch. Let's go back to the play by Cooper and Diaz.
Yeah, let's give you another look at this. This was a special play. We've talked about how the wind is howling to right. Cooper broke back first and then to the line, so it turns into a great running catch into the corner. But here's the best part. He's able to spin around on a one-hop throw to Diaz at first base and pick up that double play. Well done.
How about on the pick? You start from the ground, and then it goes up. The glove goes up. I mean, that's soft hands there at first base.
That's what you like to see. He's been so nice at first base. Diaz has done a very, very good job in today's ball game and certainly this spring.
Isan Diaz hits it the other way and foul against the shift. Cardinals trying to get a fourth inning here for Dakota Hudson, as Diaz may have broken his bat.
Been getting really good work out of Hudson, really good work out of all the starters in general throughout the camp. And again, Dakota Hudson not in this conversation because he is firmly placed in the rotation, but so many good options for the Cardinals when it comes to that fifth starter spot. Obviously, Kim is a guy that you look at that might have a leg up, and he'll pitch tomorrow against the Twins. Daniel Ponce de Leon has thrown very well. Austin Gomber, great yesterday. John Gant was great yesterday.
And a bunt attempt, strike two. Kim on Monday for the Cardinals with relief from Alex Reyes. Jack Flaherty will go on Tuesday. Cardinals head to the other side of the state. Brad Miller, who's fighting for a utility spot. Mike Schultz saying before the game could see action in the next couple of days. And Miles Michael is targeted to start throwing on the 11th. Try to get him back up and going. Will not be on the opening day roster, but that fifth spot is wide open for St. Louis. 1-2 the count.
That was definitely a very interesting look from Isan. 2 outs, 2 strikes, didn't care. He was going to drop down a bunt. he gotten himself a pitch he could handle. I wonder if that's because it's spring training. I'm guessing it probably is because it's spring training, but you don't traditionally see somebody try to drop down a bunt with 2 outs and 2 strikes.
I guess if you're going to work on something, this would be your proving ground.
Well, I think it would throw every Cardinal off, wouldn't it? I mean, I don't know if there's a game plan for that.
So Sosa over there is like, for real?
Yeah.
All right.
2-2, pulled foul. Well, you make the tough ones and the easy ones when it happens like that. No problem. No big deal. I got you. I got the tough ones. I got the backhanded diving short hops. But that one, no, just let it go.
Look,
it's a souvenir.
That wasn't going to hurt anybody, all right?
Yeah, just let it go.
That wasn't going to hurt his
Look at the
team.
grass stain on his pants. Are you kidding me? That's fantastic.
It's a good day at the office.
All right.
Shift on the right side, and again a 2-2 pitch. Hit out of play. Two again from Dakota Hudson. Just a bit high. And Brad, that very simple delivery of Dakota.
It really is. It's compact. It's repeatable. And that's, again, one of the hardest things is to figure yourself out mechanically. And especially with a sinker ball as good as Dakota's is, got to get that hand on top. You got to be able to put yourself in a really good position.
I've heard so many times, and you had a very good sinker where they say to him, hey, throw it to the middle of the plate and let the ball just dive. Let it do the work.
Well, that's something that he did a better job of in the second half last year. And not that he was, throwing it down the middle, but he wasn't picking as much. He's got 93, 94 with good sink on it, good life on it. So you don't have to dot the corner. You don't have to be on the black every time. There's a lot of room there on the plate.
It's a good at bat by Diaz.
Yeah, it really is. After attempting to bunt with 2 strikes, able to work his way back and pick up the walk. Now, you mentioned that aggressiveness and certainly the walks. I know in just over about 200 big league innings, Hudson's only given up 20 or so, 22 home runs, I think, and that's a very, very low number for 200 innings.
Third walk for Dakota Hudson, so his day is through. 3-0 as we play here in the top of the 4th. With 74 pitches for Dakota Hudson, his day is through. 47 were strikes, 12 of 15 first pitch strikes. And now Junior Fernandez, very good camp for Junior. This being his 5th appearance. It was this time last year he began at Palm Beach. Then it was Springfield, Memphis, all the way up to St. Louis. And he just might be the closer of the Cardinals until they get their main gun back.
Yeah, I think it's a guy that we didn't talk enough about coming into spring training in the mix at the back end of the bullpen, but he has done nothing but impress so far this camp. He's got closing experience in the minor leagues, and he's got some big league experience under his belt now as well.
He had a combined 11 saves last year, 4 at Palm Beach, 5 in Springfield, 2 in Memphis, 11 2/3 innings, 9 hits allowed at the big league level. He struck out 16. 1 ball and 1 strike. Francisco Cervelli. Foul back. Cardinals yesterday gave up a total of 3 hits, only 2 hits allowed today. Pitching has been one of the main stories in a positive way for St. Louis.
Well, you hope that that is a story that we're talking about all season long. I mean, when you look at the strengths of this ball club, that's the first one you hit on.
1-2, fouled back. So 3 2/3 from Dakota Hudson, 2 hits allowed, did walk 3. Struck out 5, and all 5 coming in the first 2 innings.
It was kind of a weird day for Dakota. Good overall, but not a ton of quick outs early on. He was getting so much swing and miss.
Yeah.
He missed out on weak contact.
Yachty fires down to second, not in time. Read well by Diaz.
Well, nice job by Isan getting himself into scoring position.
You guys have seen it. I mean, if you're Don Mattingly, those are the little things that you look at camp.
It has to be that way. It really does. When you look at you know, how they're put together offensively, even if you just go back and look at what their numbers were like last year, they've got to be creative on the bases. They need to be aggressive, but smart aggressive, not just running to run, knowing when to run, anticipating that ball in the dirt with 2 strikes.
2-2 and doesn't get the call.
It's a good pitch right there. It actually goes back to what you say, the being smart goes back to the Jazz Chisholm trying to go first to third on the base hit to right field. Dex was playing in, probably wasn't a high percentage play. As a manager, you love the aggressive nature. You love the guy wanting to get the extra base, but the wheels have to be turning upstairs as well.
The right way.
Three-2 pitch. Off the end of the bat and a foul ball.
Just a couple of days away, fellas, from the new 3-batter minimum. I believe that starts on the 12th.
It does.
Going to throw a new wrinkle in. Now, obviously, this situation here, that wouldn't be one of them. If you end the inning, then you're free and clear. You can go to whoever you want the following inning, but will be interesting to see how managers handle it.
3-2 pitch and a walk.
I think there's going to be some general concern. I've you know, obviously done some reading up on it and some polls of managers, and managers even talking about it, reminding themselves that, you know, the way that their bullpen is put together and these, well, you know, the lefty-lefty matchup. I mean, I think it could also clearly affect lineup configuration. Certainly. Knowing that, you know, if you can flip-flop your guys or, you know, stack a, you know, a left-right, left-right, left-right thing, I mean, you can really mess somebody up, especially you get a lefty in there, he's got to face 3 hitters.
Yep.
Monte Harrison for Miami with 2 runners on. He represents the tying run and looks at strike 1. That's why there's a premium on switch hitters or staggering your lineup.
Big time. Well, you think about managers, too, that are just so used to just getting 2 guys up. All right, let me start double barreling.
Right.
Let me get my lefty up. Let me get my righty up. Now you're going to have to deploy those things different.
Right, and I think that there was a general consensus in some of the things that I was reading that we may see a few more intentional walks.
For sure. That's what I'm interested in, is the workarounds.
Right.
You have rules, and then you always find your way around those rules somehow, some way. Manipulate them to help you, figure out a situation.
Of course.
So 2 outs and 2 on. No balls and 1 strike on Monte Harrison. Fernandez in relief of Dakota Hudson. Base hit into right field. Diaz will come around to score. Cervelli to third, and the throw into second, not in time. RBI double, Monte Harrison to get the Marlins on the board.
Well, a great swing by Monte. Continues his hot spring. We get to see the speed as well. Nice job staying inside the baseball. Hard ground ball through the right side, but with the shift over, the way that wind has been working, Dexter kind of was tucked in towards the line, which made a hard ground ball through the, the hole at second base, a double for Monte. Good base running.
That will officially close the book on Dakota Hudson, so charged with that run. The batter is Lewin Diaz. Fly to right his first time up. Base hit could tie this game up. 3 hits aside, 3-1 our score. Lewin Diaz at first base this afternoon. Jesus Aguilar signed by the Marlins. 2018 with Milwaukee, had 35 home runs, drove in over 100. Then last year traded to Tampa Bay, and he was a waiver claim by Miami and has a chance to make this club for Don Mattingly. 0-1 pitch. Floats in there for a ball, and it's now 1 ball and 1 strike.
Now you see with Diaz, he's got a very unique stance, kind of keeps those hands down right around the belt buckle area, kind of keeps them low in the zone, but very, very fast hands. He kind of puts out that little, hey, everybody, if you think you can get me out above my hands, go ahead and challenge me up there. I can climb.
Hits it the other way on a short hop. That Sosa, good glove man, makes the play. Marlins strand a pair, but they pick up a run. 2-out RBI double by Monte Harrison, and it's now 3-1. The game like an MVP with Cardinals all-inclusive tickets. Choose from the UMB Champions Club, National Car Rental Club, Proficient Red Jacket Club, and more. All-inclusive tickets include food and drinks, plus a great view of the game, and get yours at cardinals.com/all-inclusive. And a reminder, there are opening day seats still available for you when the Orioles will open up the home portion of the schedule in St. Louis. We'll see you at Busch Stadium. It'll be Dexter Fowler, Tyler O'Neill, and Harrison Bader, and a new pitcher in Todd for the Miami Marlins. Sidewinder here. Always fun to watch these guys. Aaron Northcraft.
Yeah, right. 2 ERA last season in the minor leagues. 40 innings of work. Had the 39 strikeouts, and you're right. I mean, in today's game, it's either about arm angle or velocity, it seems like. And he features the arm angle, which is going to be really, really tough on any right-handed hitters. Pitched from the right side of the mound, and a long arm coming out from right about where Monte Harrison is in center field. I can't imagine that's good visuals for any right-handed hitter right now.
Fairly uncomfortable. Yeah, and these are the guys that I'm really intrigued by when it comes to this new rule.
Agreed.
Look, he's going to have to face lefties.
Right.
You know, oftentimes lefties can pick that ball up a lot easier.
Now, normally guys that throw like this started out traditionally throwing 3/4 over,
right,
or straight over the top. Now, my partner, who's a little weird over there, and Brad Thompson, he did it the opposite way. The other way, the normal way, wasn't working.
Yeah, my thing was, I never really got a chance to pitch much in high school. Had to, before college, I had a coach who said, let's drop you down like sidearm. Maybe we can get you seen somewhere. And lo and behold, it actually worked. So I went into college pitching sidearm, pitched through 2 years of JUCO sidearm, and then got to the Cardinals, and they said, hey, why don't we move that arm up a little bit? Let me twist that baseball in your hand. Because I threw a 4-seam that just had movement, you know. They twisted the baseball, gave me a 2-seam grip, put my arm up a little bit, and then I had a sinker, and life was good. I remember the first time I threw it, I'm like, oh, can I do that all the time?
Yeah, right.
That'd be great.
I think, though, to your point, Brad, the lefty specialist, or in this case, a guy that comes in like this, throwing like this, if you're going to have to face 3 batters and you have as the opposition a left-handed batter against his righty, he's going to get great looks.
Right.
It's
on that open side, especially.
It's a tough spot.
I mean, right. I mean, I mentioned how it would be tough on a righty, but much easier on a lefty. But I think it also speaks to, I think, the potential. And again, not necessarily this situation, but if you were to face, let's say, Dexter, or a tough lefty as the third hitter with a guy on second base, that guy's going to get a free pass. You're just going to say, you know what, we've got to keep him in the ballgame because he's got to face the minimum. We need to give this guy a base. So
you're going to open up maybe the potential of bigger innings as Fowler strikes out for the second time. Northcraft is first batter faced. It's a strikeout of Dexter Fowler.
Yeah, let's give you another look. You see that tumbling action back to the inside corner. Dexter really probably locked in on that outside corner where he saw much of the action earlier in the count. A little bit late, a little bit behind that sinker.
Yeah, that's the biggest key for those guys that are down there with the arm angle is you have to be able to command the inner half of the plate to lefties. You have to be able to get in there. Because you know how dangerous that pitch can be if it leaks back out over the middle of the plate, but you can't have somebody leaning the whole time.
O'Neill fights it off and a base hit into right field. So I would assume, and Todd, you were hitting from the other side of the plate, but it's all about front shoulder when you face these types of specialists as a hitter.
Got to stay in, right? You're not typically worried about too much velocity, but you are worried about ball movement, and everything's going to be away from your swing. So just absolutely vital to keep that front shoulder in and stay on the baseball. Doesn't mean you can't pull it, just means you need to stay in there a little bit longer and track that ball into the zone.
And that's why this is a tough matchup potentially for Bader. Really trying to improve with the pitch on the outer half, a breaking ball middle outer half. Don't chase, and he looked at a strike, showing bunt there in that first pitch, and it's 0-1.
I like the idea, and I hope for Harrison Bader this is something that's in his toolbox for 2020 is laying down the bunt, being able to drop it down. And look, it takes countless hours to get good at bunting, but it's a craft. When you have wheels, man, if you can do that, if you can handle the stick
a little bit more in the spring.
I know, and I think it needs to. I think it needs to be a point of work daily. I mean, to be able to do that.
And the 0-2 pitch. One and two the count. Room on that right side of the infield. Diaz holding the runner. That's Tyler O'Neill. Dylan Carlson on deck. We see him at times going back to that front shoulder. Pitch like that, he pulls off. And that's one, if he stays with it, takes it to right, he's a different player then.
Yeah, for sure. And you see that as a pitcher, and my thought is, all right, well, I'm going to throw my slider right off of that.
Yeah.
So I throw that fastball away, get him to foul that one back. He's pulling off of it a little bit. If I could start a slider middle away, let it work off the plate, I think I can get a swing and miss.
That's a good point.
Cardinals have a left-hander throwing in their bullpen after Fernandez got the final out in the top of the fourth. It's a shared telecast today on Fox Sports Florida, Fox Sports Midwest. Todd Hollandsworth with the Marlins, Brad Thompson, Dan McLaughlin with you. And it's 1 ball and 2 strikes on Bader. He strikes out, the second strikeout for this right-hander. Let's go pitch by pitch in the at-bat.
Yeah, Northcraft, does a nice job there finishing off Bader. But this is how it starts. You see the sinker away, and again, much like a couple of at-bats ago, working away, and it's kind of surprising the hitter a little bit back in, because you're thinking, okay, well, wait a minute. He's not overwhelming me with velocity. He's not going to challenge me, and there's no way he's going to go in there, and you're like, oops, there it is. Good night.
Well, you know how this is, too. The spinner right there, that wasn't where he wanted that slider. He was trying to go down and away with that thing. It comes out of his hands. You kind of see it spinning backwards towards you. It's hard to pull the trigger on that.
Give up on it is what you do. You're surprised. And, you know, that's what he's done so far. So well so far in this inning is that there's been a couple well, I don't want to call them trick pitches, but I'll call them surprise pitches. When you can make that surprise pitch, you can get a big league hitter. You kind of get in their heads, or get out of their heads, if you will, because they're thinking something totally different. And you're right there. They used to say it about Pete Rose all the time. What's the best way to get Pete Rose out? Throw him a fastball down the middle of the plate. He didn't know to go to left. He didn't know to go to right. But if you went away, he'd go away. If you went in, he'd pull you.
I think that was the scouting report for Vladimir Guerrero as well.
Yeah.
Just throw something down the middle.
Carlson hits it into gap in right center, and on the run, making the catch, Monte Harrison. What a play. Harrison, a fine play in right center, and takes an extra base hit and an RBI away from Dylan Carlson. That ball was stung. Harrison, nice play. 3-1 St. Louis. Major League Baseball is always live with the MLB app. Follow the Cardinals with game tracking, video highlights, along with up-to-the-minute stat standings, news, and more. Get the #1 app for live baseball. Download today. Lena Turpin is always watching us on the app. Tim Turpin as well. And they're watching Cardinals baseball this afternoon on Fox Sports Florida and Fox Sports Midwest. Inning number 5 rolls in, and a new pitcher is in for St. Louis. Cardinals will go with the lefty Genesis Cabrera. Now, last time we saw Genesis, he had a cracked nail. He made a start and cracked his nail. And maybe, Brad, being a former pitcher, you can explain blisters and cracked nails and what that does for a pitcher.
Yeah, look, if you are a huge football fan or a hockey fan, close your ears for a second, but it hurts. It hurts. Well, look, you think about the last thing that's touching the ball. I mean, it's your fingers, right? That's your release. That's where you put that thing where you want it to, and a cracked fingernail or a blister, while I realize your life is still okay, all right?
It's not a tore up knee.
You're going to be okay. Your livelihood will still be there. It's a huge hindrance to a pitcher, so I think they went with an acrylic on there for him. Get that thing fixed.
Out to deep right field at the wall, and it's gone. Chisholm, the home run on a lefty-lefty matchup. And the Marlins cut the lead to 3-2.
Well, Jazz continues to impress. Another great swing. We talked about the barrel today, and Jazz Chisholm and the ability to do it more consistently. His big issue last year was strikeouts. We've seen more contact. We've seen a better approach. You gotta love that lefty-lefty matchup home run.
That was loud.
Look how easy that power was. Just nice, short, compact, into the hitting zone. And you love when you go into camp and you tell the media, this is what I'm working on. The club has talked to me. Listen, they want me to cut down on my strikeouts. How am I supposed to cut down on my strikeouts? Well, we need for you to shorten up your swing. We need for you to stop hooking the ball, getting out long around the baseball. And then you go out into a ball game and you execute the game plan. You see the short, quick swing. You see that response to an inside challenge pitch and the long home run. I mean, that's what you love to see with your 22-year-old top prospects.
I would think it takes a while, too, to realize as a hitter that you can do that and still maintain your power.
Right.
Like, you can still be that same kind of guy without having the long hook swing.
Right. It's a great point. But, you talk about that trust, and that's where not only is it the trust in yourself, but you're the trust in the coaches who are seeing your swing, who are doing the video analysis, who are breaking you down.
Shallow right center field, and under it to make the catch, Bader, and Birdie is retired. It brings in Garrett Cooper. Well, if you're a Marlins fan, you see that, and that has to excite you because he's under team control for a long time. You can build around these types of players, and they've got talent, and a lot of it is coming.
Well, and I think the exciting part, as we mentioned a little bit earlier in the broadcast, the strides that the Marlins organization has been able to make just last year alone in, without even throwing out a bunch of names, but Jazz being one of them, the leap, they went from about a middle of the pack, which was some of that draft and some of that international draft and trying to rebuild the system, to player acquisition. A lot of times we say player acquisition, we're always thinking about the impact that you're getting at the major league level. Well,
right.
Jazz is going to provide that at some point, but now it's a minor league conversation. And the best part about this story, at least for me right now, and I love Jazz. I got to meet him last year. This young man's got a very, very bright future and a great lefty swing. But it's the simple fact that he had a down year last year. He was a kid that was a top prospect in the Arizona Diamondbacks organization, thought very highly over there, but was down on his luck and was trying to kind of figure some things out. Puts a new process or a new play into play, and now all of a sudden he's having a great spring.
Well, oftentimes that's the best thing that can happen to you as a player. You don't realize it while you're going through it, but you learn a lot through your struggles. I mean, and you make some changes and you become a more complete player. And for a lot of guys, and Todd, you know this very well, a lot of guys get to the minor leagues or even get to the big leagues and have had very few hurdles really along the way because they've just been so supremely talented. Then you run into one of those walls and you find out a lot about a player by how they respond.
All right, I love it. I love exactly what you're saying. You're right.
2-2. Curveball hit slowly to short. The second out for Genesis Cabrera. Upside on this lefty from the Cardinals is awfully high. He's in the competition for the 5th starter spot. Can be used out of the bullpen. Was added to the Cardinals postseason roster a year ago.
Well, he came back in September last year, a totally different pitcher than we saw early on. He was tipping his pitches. He didn't really have that confidence about him, but mid to upper 90s, big breaking ball, has a changeup as well. And you're right, with the uncertainty right now, specifically in the bullpen around Andrew Miller, you could easily see Cabrera making this team and being in the pen or the 5th starter. You're right.
Cardinals unsure as to whether or not Andrew Miller will be on that opening day roster, but as time moves forward, it's going to be tougher and tougher to get him there. Good breaking ball, drops in for a strike. 0-2 on Matt Joyce. Joyce has struck out and has flied out to left. A sliding catch made by Dylan Carlson. Sends it to center, and there is Harrison Bader. Chisholm, top prospect, and shows us why. Lefty-lefty matchup. It takes one deep. The teeth of the wind. 3-2. Cardinals fans, sign up for the all-new Cardinals 5K on April 11th, presented by Fox Sports Midwest. 5K course winds through downtown St. Louis along the riverfront before finishing at Busch Stadium. You'll have the chance to walk a victory lap around the field as well. All participants will receive a premium quarter-zip long-sleeve shirt finisher medallion. Sign up now at cardinals.com/5K. Fox Sports Midwest, Fox Sports Florida, bringing you spring training baseball The Cardinals and the Marlins in a 3-2 St. Louis lead. As we'll move to the home half of the fifth. Top of the lineup, it'll be Sosa, Edman, Goldschmidt, Drew Steckenrider is the new pitcher.
Yeah, the big flamethrower looking to have a bounce back season this year. Dealt with injuries last year. Big arm, as we all know, 94, 96 mile an hour fastball, breaking ball, and even the changeup. This young man has had an eye-opening start to his career up until last season when things kind of came off the rails just a little bit. But he's being given every opportunity to land a spot in that bullpen.
That's driven out to left off the bat of Sosa over the outstretched glove of Lewis Brinson, and Edmundo Sosa winds up at second base. Remember, he's filling in for Colton Wong, who was hit by a pitch back in the first, not expected to be serious, hit on the back of the leg, but Cardinals taking no chances in spring, and Sosa's been doing this a lot this spring, trying to earn a bench spot for St. Louis.
Heard a lot of loud noises off the bat of Edmundo Sosa so far this spring, and you're right, he can smell it too. I mean, he knows what this outlook is. He knows that he's in there battling, fighting for a spot, and there is nothing tentative about his game. He's very aggressive. He's aggressive in the field. He's aggressive with his swing, and that aggressive nature might just win him a spot.
No doubt, hunting that fastball, got it, crushed it.
These are the kind of at-bats that let Tommy Edman stick around last year, and he'll either drive him in or pull it to the right side. You can have all the analytics and sabermetrics you want, still doing little things properly in the game. He pulls that just foul, and it's 1 ball and 1 strike.
Yeah, you're talking about applied pressure, and you're absolutely right. We know the percentages go through the roof of the runner at third in less than 2 outs, as opposed to a runner in scoring position in 1 out.
And this is where, you talk about having protection behind Goldschmidt. Well, Goldschmidt is on deck. If you can get a runner at third, only 1 out, then the opposition's got to pick a poison.
Yep.
Do you pick to, pitch to Paul Goldschmidt? Do you go for the guys behind him? But it opens up potentially bigger innings, depending on how you want to play it. Sosa back in safely at second base. Marlins have used Lopez, Northcraft, and now Steckenrider. Cardinals have had Hudson, Fernandez, and Cabrera. The 1-1.
We saw Tommy Edman in the first inning. Shortstop, wide gap right there, just shoot one through very deliberately. You can see him pull the hands in and go that way. Not a similar opening here.
The 2-1 pitch. Back to Steckenrider, and Edman not able to advance the runner.
That's a pretty good example of everything that you were talking about, Dan. When you think about it, and we talk about it all the time, I mean, they feel that out there on the mound. That guy's sitting over there at third base, and if you do get him over, it just changes how everything feels in a 1-run ball game. And, even with Goldschmidt in the box and, DeYoung in the on-deck circle, you're 2 ground balls away from getting out of this unscathed.
Going right at Goldschmidt with strike 1. But the Marlins bullpen this year, who stands out looking ahead at 2020?
Well, that's a good question. I think there's definitely some question marks in the bullpen, but there's going to be some opportunities. They made some acquisitions this winter to improve that bullpen. But I mean, the topic of conversation, really everything that I've heard so far is really just centered around the idea of throwing strikes and being aggressive. Walks were an issue last year, and they just can't have that. Starting pitching was definitely the strong part of the pitching staff. The bullpen, we're just looking for some more consistency.
Curveball, a beauty, drops in.
The Marlins brought in Brandon Kinsler. I mean, he's going to get the opportunity to close some games.
One ball, 2 strikes on Goldschmidt. Drove in 2 back in the first. 2-2. Inside 3-2 on Paul Goldschmidt. Hit a double down the left field line that drove in Wong and Edman back in the first inning. Also grounded out sharply to third.
We saw teams last year, especially early on with Paul Goldschmidt, and he turned it on in the second half quite a bit, but really trying to attack him on that inner half, seeing if he can get those hands through. They were a little slow early, but he fixed that problem.
He historically in his career has been a slower starter, whether it was in Arizona or even a season ago. Now, I guess you wouldn't say that when you had a 3 home run night in your second game as a Cardinal. That's not necessarily a slow start, but after that there was some slow moments, but picked it up and had a typical Paul Goldschmidt type year.
Kind of interesting how that happens. You're right, kind of gets back to the norm. I mean, you're right. I mean, you have those moments. I was very much the same way. It wasn't until the first real warm days that I start swinging the bat, especially when I was playing with some of the teams that I played on in the north. Not a big fan of the cold weather.
I don't know if you agree, but from your perspective, pitcher, I think with cold weather, and Brad, you could correct me, but you're going to get away with it because you can pitch inside. Guys don't want to get hit. Guys don't want the ball inside. Hitters, it takes a while for them to get going as Goldschmidt's day is through. But you'd love to see Major League Baseball find a way, and I'm not sure you can with unbalanced schedule, but have the majority of games in domes or down in Miami, Tampa Bay, warmer weather places. That's grounded to short from his backside. Not in time. Chisholm was able to keep that on the infield, and the Cardinals have the bases loaded.
And just not able to get much on the throw to second base. Nice job keeping the ball on the infield. Short throw, short hop. So Isan coming off the bag.
Probably saves a run, though, going into left field.
Most definitely in this one-run ball game here in the 5th.
That's going to be it for DeYoung. It looks like Nolan Gorman has come in to run for Paul. Ravello running for Goldschmidt at second. And here's Yadier Molina. This will be his final plate appearance, more than likely. Bases loaded, looks at a pitch high, and Steckenrider's got some trouble here with the bases loaded, only one down.
And he's going to have to find a way to make a pitch. As much success as Yadi has had in his career in these situations, a ground ball gets him out of it.
And I'm sure, Don Mattingly, as much as you don't want to lose games, you want to win, you want to have a good feeling going into the regular season, but this is where you find out about Steckenrider. Where is he right now?
Right.
Bases loaded against one of the best in Yadier Molina.
Having missed significant time last year, you're absolutely right. I mean, this mess is very real, and he doesn't want to lose this game. Steckenrider has had command issues since coming into the ball game. Now 10 balls of his 16 pitches.
And the 3-0 pitch. Yadi swinging away and hits it out to center. It'll be Harrison with the catch, and cutting in front of him was Brenson. The runner from third tags up Edmundo Sosa, and it makes it a 4-2 St. Louis lead.
Well, Yadi figures, what the heck, I'm going to see a fastball down the middle. I'm going to try to give it a ride, and this thing does get caught up in the wind a little bit, or it's got a chance to be a lot further than this one. Does drive in the run and gets the job done. Pretty dangerous out there in the outfield, though. That communication is going to have to be a little bit better.
Yeah, you got a couple of center fielders playing side by side right now. You got to remember who's in center and who's in left, and thankfully no harm, no foul.
Here's Dexter Fowler. And Fowler looks at a ball. 0 for 2 with a couple of the strikeouts swinging. Runners at first and second with 2 outs. 2-0, and Dexter needs something good here. Inside. Yachty was swinging on 3-0. We'll see if Dexter wants to do the same. .30 pitch, and he walked him. So that'll be his third walk in the inning, and again the bases are loaded. And Don Mattingly will go to his bullpen with Tyler O'Neill coming up. '20 Cardinals Hall of Fame ballot presented by Edward Jones is live now through April 17th. And cast your vote for the top 2 deserving players from another great field of candidates by visiting cardinals.com/HOF. Great Willie McGee, one of those Cardinal Hall of Famers, and works with the outfielders yet again this season with St. Louis. They're all loaded up, and Tyler O'Neill is in, and he'll face a left-hander here.
Another big moment in this ball game. The numbers for Tarpley on the season: 6.93 ERA. Walks at times can be an issue. No open bases here. 34 strikeouts certainly catches your attention. This young man's got a good arm.
All loaded up for Tyler O'Neill. 1 ball, 1 strike. O'Neill 1 for 2 today. He struck out and also singled to right. And that did hit him. He's hit by the pitch on a breaking ball, and a run will score. The Cardinals have regained their 3-run lead.
Well, unfortunately for the Marlins, command has been a major issue this inning. There's been a little bit of offense from the St. Louis hitters, but not enough to really explain the mess that we're seeing. It really has more to do with the Marlins and their lack of command.
Just goes back to your earlier point about the bullpen in general. The focus this season is not necessarily on one guy, one added piece. It's about pounding the zone. Free passes will kill you.
Marlins pitching 5 walks, 2 hit batters here today. That's cost them. Harrison Bader, he walked back in the 2nd inning, called out on strikes in the 4th. Now, one thing Bader has done, especially 2 years ago, hit left-handed pitching extremely well. So this is his spot.
It was something that kind of fell off for him a little bit last year.
Yep.
But I think that he was just he was having one of those years last year where he was inside his own dome a little bit too much and trying to do too much.
Snowballed a little bit.
Yeah, there was a lot of variables for Harrison Bader, but this should be a matchup that should be very favorable for him.
Mel Stottlemyre out to the mound. Quick conversation with Tarpley. He knows what the theme has been like today, what it's been about today, and unfortunately it's been about the walks, as you mentioned, the hit by pitch as well. It's already allowed in another run.
Well, a situation like this, too, specifically in spring training, look, the talking point is, hey, make them hit their way on. Like, make them earn it at this point.
You certainly want to see your pitchers be aggressive, especially when the message is being delivered before the games ever were started, even for the Marlins. I mean, this was such an issue last year that it's a follow-up conversation this year. Guys, we're targeting pitchers who are going to come into the ball game, who are going to attack the strike zone. If you get hit around a little bit, we'll figure some stuff out, but we're not going to deal with the free passes.
3-0. How do you combat it, Brad? I mean, if you've got a team-wide or even an individual, how do you get them right?
Well, the problem is oftentimes it snowballs, right? Like you feel like, all right, I'm in a hole here, I'm 3-0, and then you just try to kind of serve it in there, and then you get out of your mechanics, you get out of the field that you had before. Sometimes you just got to dumb it down. Look, we were talking about Dakota Hudson earlier in the ball game and how you simplify it, right? Hey, throw it down the middle and let it move a little bit. I know this situation is a big one. It's bases loaded. Look, but when you're struggling a little bit, think down. I mean, you think down instead of down on a corner.
3-1. 3-2. Runners off with this next pitch with the bases loaded and 2 outs, and the Cardinals leading by the score of 5-2. Dylan Carlson on deck. Right now, this is all Tarpley. 3-2 pitch. We'll do it again.
Tarpley's done a good job of just kind of getting right back to it, right? He slowed some things down a little bit. He's allowing his arm to get up and get that good downward action. Saw a couple of times in a row where he's slinging stuff across and just getting under it. Small adjustments.
3-2 pitch again. Fouled back and a good cut.
Tell you what's a tiny bit maddening after you struggle with your command,
right,
is getting back to it, then somebody fouls off 3 in a row. Come on. Right. Come on.
Well, you're not nitpicking out there, right? You're just trying to throw strikes and get anywhere near, and you're thinking, okay, let's put the ball in play, let's get it on the ground and get that out. Fortunately for Tarpley, there's 3 consecutive foul balls.
3-2, base hit into left. 1 run in. Here comes another. Harrison Bader delivers with the bases loaded and drives in 2.
It's a good at-bat by Harrison Bader. He found himself in command of the count, but then he, Tarpley did a good job of getting back into it. He fouls off a couple and then gets himself something that he can shoot right through the hole here. This pitch is on the outer half, but he stays back, lets it travel, and shoots it in.
Well, and I think for Bader, it became a predictable at-bat as he worked ahead the entire time. When you've got the bases loaded, you're struggling with your command as a hitter, you eliminate the secondary pitches. You've already hit one guy with a breaking ball. You're not going to throw it right here, especially with the guys on the move. And you just end up sitting on fastballs. Bader got 3 free swings at fastballs prior to the ball he put in play. So, I mean, it's almost like timing up batting practice, so to speak. And when you finally get that one you want, you sneak it through the left side.
Here's a switch hitter, Dylan Carlson. 0 for 2 today. Sent one to deep center field. Now swinging from this side of the plate. And looks at a ball down and in. 1 ball and 1 strike, 2 outs and 2 on. Cardinals with 3 runs in the first inning and now 4 here in the bottom of 5. And to your point, he falls behind here now, 2-1.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, the hitter, you make the strike zone smaller as the count favors you, and then you're isolating one pitch. You're not looking for a changeup in this spot. You're looking for a fastball down the middle, thigh high, and if you get it, your best swing's got to be on it.
Carlson hits it sharply to third and a force play. Big inning for St. Louis. They pick up 4 runs, add to their lead. It's 7-2. With Todd Hollandsworth and Brad Thompson, I'm Dan McLaughlin. It is a 7-2 St. Louis lead in the second inning of work for Genesis Cabrera. They'll get Lewis Brenson here. Brenson, a double, and also flied out to right. And that's ball 1. So a shot earlier of Derek Jeter. Todd, I'm curious, what's it like having Jeter around day in and day out, headed to the Hall of Fame obviously this year, but one of the great players that ever played the game, and that's popped up near the Cardinal bullpen, and the wind will take that out of play and into the seats.
Absolutely awesome. I mean, my boss is a former player. I mean, who doesn't love that, right? I mean, we can sit and talk shop. Old players, we get together, we tend to do that a lot, and we have a lot of fun doing it. Brad and I have been doing it all day. It's what he is, and when I get him and get a chance to talk to him, of course, he's an incredibly busy man. Derek, he loves talking shop. I mean, a lot of times he'll just come out, And we may not see him later in the day, but he'll be hanging around the batting cage with the kids and talking to the guys and, you know, talking about hit path and hit swing and all these different things. It's a lot of fun. It really is to have him around. Of course, he's taken on the challenge of running an organization, which means more than just talking baseball. So he's got a million things on his plate right now.
I think you hit on a key word, too, is challenge aspect of it. Like, that sounds right up Derek Jeter's alley.
Loves it.
Like he's in a huge spot. There are a lot of people that would like the idea of owning something, but hey, I'm gonna let some other people do all the nitty gritty. Seems like he's very hands-on.
Very hands-on. And I know that there was probably a pretty big question early on, you know, when they bought the team and took over, like how that was actually going to go. But I mean, he has been awesome in Miami with this group of players and certainly with this organization. I know the city of Miami is smiling back at Derek, and I know that attendance is starting to really pick up. I mean, I really do believe that.
I'm assuming trust is a big factor with this group.
But again, it goes back to, you know, the old regime, old guard, and I think that there was a lot of damage done there that this group had to unfortunately recover from. So they're still in the process of doing that. But I mean, I cannot speak volumes. I do speak volumes to the job that they've done in reaching out to the community. I've been able to be a part of some of the stuff that they do, but it really is amazing how much they care. They're not just trying to say, hey, listen, come to Marlins games and buy our season tickets. They are doing outreach. They're in the community. They're doing food drives. They're doing, you know, so much charity work in the community. It really does speak volumes to the ownership group and what their plan is to rebuild that relationship.
1-2 here on Diaz.
Seen a couple of really nice breaking balls here from Genesis Cabrera. The strikeout of Brinson a second ago. That one there for a strike, and that's the beauty of this breaking ball for him. He's got the comfort to throw it where he wants to, and he can bounce it as well.
Ooh. Fastball taken just a bit low.
97 right there. So he sets him up with a curveball. You see that pop out of his hands. You got to worry about that. Then he's dotting 97 down and away. That's a lot to cover for a hitter.
The 2-2 pitch. Genesis Cabrera to Diaz. In the air, left field. Was talking with a couple of outfielders yesterday from the Cardinals side. They said it was an adventure, but they did say we'd rather have it in spring training like this. We'd rather, you know, have the worst conditions you can possibly imagine. For obvious reasons, you don't want to deal with it in regular season, but if you can handle this and get prepared for what it's like this, and you know this,
yeah,
you can handle the regular season.
Well, in the Midwest, I mean, we talk about it all the time. I mean, the wind blows. I mean, you still got a chance of snow early on in the season. I mean, you've got rain, cooler temperatures, warmer temperatures. We all know how the transition goes in the Midwest. Florida, it's definitely different. Miami, obviously the roof.
There's Francisco Cervelli. It was this time last year we saw Genesis Cabrera, and we'd heard a lot about his winter ball outing. He had just put up remarkable numbers in winter ball. Didn't have a great camp. Can't say that now. He looks the part. He has got nasty stuff, and we're seeing it here in his second inning of work.
We saw a little bit of that confidence, too, in the strikeout. He's got a little flair to him, you know, as we were talking about. You mentioned Jazz Chisholm. Like he kind of fits the bill. Confidence is a big part of this. You've seen a lot of guys with great stuff that don't have it. Nasty hook right there. I can see that in the bullpen. I can see that in the rotation.
He wants to see it in the big leagues. 7-2 St. Louis. Friends and family. Group tickets on sale now. Groups of 20 or more receive great incentives, including a discount of up to 50% off the gate price in most seating areas. Mac Huff is celebrating a birthday and watching on Fox Sports Midwest, so why not bring a group to celebrate that birthday? For more details, visit cardinals.com/groups or call 314-345-9000. Todd Hollinsworth, Dan McLaughlin, Brad Thompson with you. Fox Sports Midwest, Fox Sports Florida. It's a shared broadcast today. Edmundo Sosa, the top of the Cardinal lineup. First pitch, ground ball left side, tough play, and it's made. That wasn't easy at all by Birdie. One away.
I think that was Eddie Alvarez who's into the game for John Birdie. You're absolutely right. Cutting across the diamond. A quick turn. Good strong throw for out number 1.
So Alvarez is in for birdie, and now it's Tommy Edman. And a strike. Cardinals have another lefty getting loose in their pen as the wind is really picked up. Whipping the winds here at Roger Dean Stadium in Jupiter, Florida.
Well, this is one of those days, too, guys, where you throw the ball down the middle and you almost say, hey, see what you can do with it. It'd be tough to get it out of the ballpark.
That's out number 2 as Edman is retired.
You see Eddie right there. Now, we talked about that great play he made just an out ago, cutting across the diamond. He looked like he had a little pop in his step, a little spring in his step. You want to know why? He did a baby reveal earlier today, and he found out that he's going to be having himself a boy. He and his wife, Gabrielle, congratulations to them. That was a big moment for him. I was wondering why he was flying across the diamond so fast, and now I get it.
It's a big day.
It certainly is.
Here's Ravello, and he pops one foul. That's the new thing, the gender reveal.
Yes. They were on the Marlins side. There was a hard time seeing what it was. I'm guessing it was a balloon, but threw it to him. He swung, made contact, and poof, blew.
I had mine, and I passed out. 1, 2, 3, go the Cardinals. What's on tap is presented by Budweiser. The next Cardinals telecast will be against these Marlins. Will come your way Thursday at noon. And for the folks on Fox Sports Florida, their next telecast will be Wednesday as they'll take on the New York Yankees.
Oh, yeah. Good times.
Yankees already dealing with injury again. Severino done for the year. Judge and Stanton out for opening day. They dealt with a ton of injuries a season ago, and they were 1 win away from making it to the World Series.
Yeah, right.
Here's Brett Cecil. You're going to see a lot of breaking balls from Brett as that pitch has been getting better and better and better, Brad, as his spring training goes forward.
Well, his last outing was maybe the best I've seen Brett Cecil in a Cardinal uniform. Now, the command of that off speed is going to be huge. His fastball is not going to be overpowering. I guess my question is with Brett Cecil, and something that he's going to have to figure out. I know Mike Schilt has talked about this. We have a plan, but getting the righties out. I mean, these are the matchups that I want to see. Pulls a string right there.
A ball and a strike. Monte Harrison. And there's that breaking ball. We forget Brett Cecil was an all-star with Toronto as recent as 2016. Signed a 4-year deal with the Cardinals. And it's been setback after setback for Brett. Final year of his deal, the 2-1 pitch, curveball, and it missed.
We've spent a little bit of time talking about all the different options down there in the Cardinal bullpen. We just saw Genesis Cabrera, and you see why the organization is high on him. So there are options, right? There are plenty of guys up there from the left side, and it's going to be tough for Brett Cecil, honestly, at this point to be there, to be a part of it. But just from like a human element standpoint, I root for him. I mean, I want him to do well.
Been through a lot.
Dude, the last couple of years have been. Brett Cecil knows what everybody has been talking about, and he knows the paycheck that he gets every couple of weeks. Like, he understands the entire situation. He wants to succeed. He's doing everything he can to do so, and he just had some struggles.
Lewin Diaz. A little sharper break there for strike one. Diaz has flied to right and also grounded out to third. 7-2 Cardinals here in the top of the 7th. The shift on the right side of the infield. This is what I always find interesting against the shift and trying to get the potential of a double play. I was just about ready to bring it up. With a sweeping breaking ball, you think you might get him to roll over on it, but you got 3 guys on the right side of the infield. It's not an easy play at all.
Well, that's why you end up working on these things all the time. You're used to seeing it from one angle. Throw here kind of takes him across the bag anyhow, so it was going to be very difficult to do. But the footwork of that, it's totally different.
It certainly is. And that ball hit sharply as well. And maybe bought a step or two as far as being able to turn it, but needed an accurate throw at second base. Didn't get it.
Jose Devers, new batter for Miami.
I'll say this about many of the young Marlins hitters, and I think we've seen a little bit of it today. Jazz Chisholm and obviously Monte Harrison has a walk as well. You know, sometimes we talk about it, and we certainly have in regards to a lot of the Cardinal prospects, the patience you have as a young hitter. A lot of times you come into camp and you tell everybody, I got to hit, right? I got to prove to everybody that I can hit. So you get here and, well, sometimes you're a little too aggressive. And I think that what we've seen with some of our younger hitters this year, which has been very impressive so far in spring, is that they've had good disciplined at-bats. They're going up there on a mission. They're going up there to listen. I need to stay in my strike zone. I need to put together quality ABs, not just go up there and swing at every first fastball that you see. Because it's very easy to do that in spring training because you do tend to see a few more fastballs. But it doesn't prove that your hitting skills or your instincts are really taking shape and coming together like you'd like.
Todd, we talked about this quite a bit during Cardinal camp. It's visible, it's noticeable, the influx in tech, just technology in general, whether it's the K vest or the the thing you put on the end of the bat, the blast motion.
Right.
Are you seeing a lot more of that on the Marlins side as well?
We certainly are. I mean, these young men are aware of their swing. I mean, I was just reading a piece on Jazz Chisholm. In fact, just the other day, he was talking about his knowledge of the number of pitches he missed in the strike zone, it only being 1, and the number of pitches he actually had chased out of the strike zone, it also being 1. It speaks to not only the approach but the knowledge that these young men have at their fingertips in regards to their at-bats. When I was playing, we just talked about it. It's all good. How you feeling right now? Let me know tomorrow. I was 0 for 3.
I'm a little off. What does that mean? See, and that's the thing now. It's quantifiable.
Right.
A little off is, I have numbers. I have video. I can slow it down. Like, we can show somebody exactly where you were at when you were right. That's a different beast. I think it's like anything else, though. I think it can be easy to get caught up in the numbers and maybe go too deep into the weeds. I think every individual is a little bit different of what they can utilize and what they need.
All right.
So a couple of walks in the inning. Now Eddie Alvarez slowly hit towards third. They'll go to second, on to first, and safe at first. The potential double play started by Nolan Gorman. Thought he might step on the bag and go across the diamond, and you're kind of in that in-between spot here, aren't you?
Yeah, it really was right there. He's trying to take his momentum a little bit. I think it would be very difficult to have gone all the way back to the bag, make that far throw. It would have been bang, bang either way. Very close here, but if that momentum is taking you towards second, oftentimes, I mean, that's just the best way to go.
The batter is Harold Ramirez. Runners at the corners for Miami.
Harold, pretty solid season for the Marlins last year. 11 home runs, 50 RBIs, 276 batting average. Got off to an absolutely fantastic start. Was hitting everything in sight once he was recalled early on in the season. Slowed down a little bit as the season goes on and finds himself, fighting for some playing time this year. This young man can play a little bit. He's a good bat.
First and third, 2 balls and no strikes. Cecil falling behind here. On the ground, Sosa settles and makes the play. Edmundo Sosa, scoreless inning for Brett Cecil. With great promotions this upcoming year, featuring replica jersey giveaways, including Goldschmidt jerseys, an adult 1944 jersey, a Players Weekend alumni jersey, and so much more. Tickets to 6 of these great giveaway dates through the 10-game jersey pack, or buy them as a single game ticket. They're on sale at Cardinals.com. And again, there are still single game tickets available for opening day. 7-7-0 for St. Louis. 2-4-0 for the Marlins as we move to the bottom of the 7th. And a new right-hander is in for Miami.
Yeah, Robert Duggar into the ball game. You see 7 games last season, 5.77 ERA. Those 7 games, 7 starts, 0-4 record. Ran into some issues with the slugging percentage against. That was probably more than anything the biggest issue. It was the type of contact against him, not just the overriding contact. As you see, the batting average against was at .254, but that slugging percentage much higher. Did give up the 6 home runs and maybe a few too many walks at 17, but he's got to hit his spots, and when he does, he's actually pretty good. But he makes a mistake out over the plate. He got himself in a little bit of trouble last year.
This is Nolan Gorman, and he sends a fly ball out to left. It started in center. It's pushed over that way, and there's the out. Nolan Gorman, one of the top prospects at third base for the Cardinals in their system and across Major League Baseball.
Where do you expect Nolan Gorman to start this year, Dan? I mean, they got Elhervis Montero as well, who was optioned out of camp here yesterday.
Boy, that's a good question. Double-A, I mean, at minimum.
Yeah,
I would think.
sure. Wonder if Montero is ready to take that step, be the guy at Memphis.
Then the Cardinals are going to have a good dilemma to have in terms of you've got 2 to 3 young. Mendoza, another one, third baseman that they've got to figure out where they want to put him.
That's a great problem to have.
Yes. Dennis Ortega was just a week ago in the 9th inning and 2 outs of a tie game that he hit a home run. That was against Houston. He's also shown off his arm. He's thrown out nearly 40% of base stealers in the minor leagues. The catcher for St. Louis currently at the plate. 0-2 the count. Puts it in play. Right side. And Ortega against the shift picks up a hit.
Yeah, and there's a classic example of what we're talking about. 0-2 count, gets a fastball up and just really taps it to the right side, but because of the overshift, able to pick up the base hit.
Now, Todd, you got young kids that play the game of baseball at a high level.
Right.
Are you seeing, and I don't know how old your oldest is, what, 16? 17.
Yeah.
You seeing shifting even at that level?
No, not as much yet, because you don't have the advanced scouting that you have here at this level. I mean, so you're seeing maybe glimpses of it. If a guy gives off a pattern during the course of a ball game, maybe you'll see it, certainly here in the state of Florida. But generally speaking, it's still pretty traditional baseball.
Talking with Randy Flores, who was a teammate of Brad Thompson's and now runs the draft for the Cardinals. He said at the levels of the high-end baseball players in high school and in college specifically, because there's more video readily available,
right,
scouting, that kind of thing. He said you're seeing shifting now even at those levels. It's incredible, which makes me think you may see a shift in the game where guys understand how to hit against the shift. Double play. Nice. Yes. Off the bat of Austin Dean, the former Marlin. Budweiser player of the game, Dakota Hudson, and this afternoon he goes 3 2/3. Did walk 3. Couple of hits, 1 run, but struck out 5 along the way.
A lot of swing and miss in the game for Dakota Hudson today, on the sinker, on the slider as well, and had a little defense behind him. Great play by Dylan Carlson there, 3 2/3. And again, Dakota Hudson, just the building blocks of getting ready for the regular season. A little bit different than this time last year when he was battling for a spot in this rotation.
Yeah, what a breaking ball he featured today. And I thought, Brad, you made a couple of great points when he was going through his outing today. You know, being able to use that early in the count, and we did see it today early in the count, as well as that great put-away pitch. So, dare I say, midseason form. I mean, that's kind of what we saw today, and I think Marlins would probably back me up on that.
Well, it looked like it, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing for Dakota, is just next level for him is going to be more efficiency, right? And we saw a lot of that down the stretch for him, but outs quick and early. Swing and miss had a little something to do with it today, though. Pitch count got up.
Jesus Sanchez at the plate for Miami. 7-2 Cardinals. John Brebbia, the new pitcher for St. Louis. Ton of appearances over the last couple of years out of the Cardinal bullpen. And he fits into the plans in 2020. And what should be a very good pitching staff. The Cardinals combining yesterday and today, it's 16 innings and only 7 hits allowed.
Well, you got to love that. We all know the strengths of this ball club, and it is going to be the pitching. You're going to lean on that. Now, the hope is that the offense overall is maybe a surprise to us, probably not a surprise to those guys. They believe in each one of the individuals that they put out there, but the pitching is going to have to be strong this year. It's going to have to carry them. By the way, have you, Dan, in talking to all the members of the bullpen, have you ever got a different answer other than John Brebbia when you're asking who is the most interesting character out there?
No. And he's right-handed, which I don't fully understand. As I said many times, he probably needs to be a lefty, but he's a righty that throws 96, and
it's working.
Get a look at him now, because I'd say by August you won't recognize him.
Yeah, right. I mean, if I remember from last year, I mean, he had an incredible beard. Am I right about that?
That's right.
Yeah.
So that started at Laredo when he was in independent ball. He was signed by the Yankees, and then out of the Yankee system went to independent baseball, and he said the pitching coach and guys in the bullpen, just to have a little fun, said, well, we're going to start growing beards. So he said it's kind of a reminder for him, and it starts essentially on opening day. He'll clean shave on opening day and then won't shave the rest of the year. He said, but the beard reminds me of where I've come from, independent baseball. And that's why he does it. He also has a penchant on Mondays to dress up as John Mozeliak, the president of baseball operations. He'll come to the ballpark dressed as the president of baseball operations.
It's a good look, too.
Very, I mean, sharp.
Yeah, it is. He was wearing
well-dressed.
some very nice penny loafers.
Yep.
The other day, sweater tied around the neck. I mean, he had it all. Spot on.
I said to him, you know, is Mo taking kindly to this or what? And he said, I think so, but I better check. He's the guy that's going to control my fate.
He's still got a Cardinal uni on, so right. all is well so far.
Mo's saying just keep putting up zeros and we'll worry about the rest.
That's right.
Yeah, I want to say that John also has a Mo, I don't want to call it a costume, but a get up for his young son that he's going to break out at some point too on a Mo Monday. So we'll see.
And Mo is a guy that has fun with it and keeps it light, so it's all good. 3-2 pitch, ground ball, foul. I found it incredibly interesting when I asked John. I said, now when I watch you pitch, and I've seen him now make just about every big league appearance he's had over 2.5 years, I've seen a guy throw mid to high 90s with a nasty slider. Now how does that not happen with the Yankees and you have to go all the way to independent baseball? And he said, I was basically at the very end of my career at that time, and he said, I'm going to take the ball, there's a base hit out to left, and I'm going to throw it as hard as I possibly can. There's got to be something more in the tank in my arm, in my shoulder, my body. And he said all of a sudden by doing that, by throwing as hard as I can, I gained velocity, and then I was able to kind of corral the velocity and be able to spot it. I don't know about you, Brad. I know you're a guy that threw at least 98, 99.
Yeah,
you were able to corral that great velocity you had.
Yeah, it was hard to do.
But that's how it worked for John Brebbia.
Yeah. And you sunk it.
Right. Yeah, it's amazing. The sheer physics probably don't tell the whole story of how that happens. No,
yeah.
You know what, though? I love stories like that, because I think a lot of times people watch games at the big league level and think, wow, it's just been an easy path, right? The whole life you've been the best player ever, and you signed out of high school or college, and you're probably a millionaire already, and here you are. Good for you. Look, everybody's path is different.
And you hear more of those stories in this sport, I think. Would you agree?
I would for sure.
And that's a fair ball inside the third base line by Sean Rodriguez. They're going to wave the runner in, and the relay, no throw. Rodriguez delivers with an RBI double, cuts a lead to 7-3.
Yeah, a couple of breaking balls have gotten Brebbia in some trouble. This one ripped down the left field line. You see that big breaking ball stays up in the zone. Good swing by Sean. My, oh my, got that front foot down and ripped it into the corner.
I got to tell you, Todd, Sean Rodriguez had some awesome years against the St. Louis Cardinals as a utility guy with Pittsburgh, and then with injuries, you'd see a stretch of games where he was an everyday player, and he just tore up the Cardinals.
Right.
His dad is still in our system, the Cardinal system, and as a coach, The fly ball that'll carry to Harrison Bader. Comes in, makes the catch. And that's the first out. But he's a good player. Has been for a long time.
I'm very excited for the opportunity for Sean. I believe he's a Miami guy as well. His family, I know, down in the Miami area. So I don't want to say a bit of a homecoming, but I do understand that and believe that home is there for him. So he gets to kind of play for his hometown team. And there's a tremendous opportunity for him. I mean, it really is. You know, if he cracks this roster and goes out and continues to perform, you're right. I mean, he is pinch hit. I remember, you know, to me, I always caught my attention. The ability to come off the bench and hit 98 miles an hour. You don't really, I mean, we were talking about how difficult this game is, right? And, you know, how we kind of invent ourselves. I don't know if there's anything harder than to sit all game long and then to enter the ball game, kind of like Sean has done over most of his career, and get it done, you know, which today means turning 98 miles an hour around pretty regularly.
There's Chad Wallach. And the 1-0 pitch by Brebbia. His daddy was a good one, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Chad Wallach. Yeah, the great Tim Wallach. As you mentioned earlier, was on Don Mattingly's staff for a number of years.
Yeah, bench coach for Don Mattingly, has gone back to the West Coast to be with the family just a little bit more. And Tim, very dear to me, as he was kind of my, as I said a little bit earlier, I speak in terms of like big brother, little brother in relationship to the dynamic in the dugout and in the clubhouse. And when I became a Dodger at the major league level, my kind of older brother, they sat me right next to Tim Wallach, and basically Tommy said, do what Tim said for like an entire year.
A pro.
Yeah, my pro, yeah, my rookie season.
He had great years in Montreal, too.
Yeah, it's absolutely the truth. Great player. I've gotten to know Chad and his family pretty well. He's having himself a great spring. He's already reached double digits in RBI, so he's put together a pretty impressive offensive spring training.
2-2 the count. Back to Brebbia, and he'll throw to second. Gets a lead man. Good play by John Brebbia.
Yeah, it sure was. I don't think there was a whole lot of room for error on that throw back to second base. Rodriguez a couple of false steps towards third, but a good strong throw on the bag gets his man.
Yeah, really heads up right here. He sees him leaning right there, doesn't hesitate, as you mentioned, and it's always a nice benefit, man. If you can get that lead runner, takes a little pressure off of you.
Wouldn't most guys give up on that play right there?
Yeah,
Just take the out at first base, because as Rodriguez is kind of retreating to second base, there wasn't a whole lot of space in there.
How about this young man at the plate? Considered one of their top prospects.
Yeah, JJ. He's got himself a couple of hits already this spring training. Sweet swing, and he's got everybody convinced that he is going to get it done as a big leaguer. It's just a question of when. This young man is a good player. He's a fiery competitor.
Brett, I want to go back to the throw by Brebbia. It seemed to be an epidemic a couple years ago, not just with the Cardinals, but across Major League Baseball, pitchers throwing to a bag. I mean, it's not the pitch. It's throwing to a bag, and yet guys struggle with that.
Yeah, and ones like that are actually a little bit easier because it is bang, bang, and you're letting it go.
Can't think about it.
Yeah, you just have to let it go. You have to react. But I know it can get monotonous at times, but that's why you do it so much in spring training. That's why you work on these things every single day, so you have the reactions here. He fields the ball right away. First instinct is to pick up your runner, catch them way too far off, and the instincts take over. But, yeah, it's maddening, and I understand it, to see the little ground ball back to the pitcher, and then he air mills one into the into the stands, or pulls the first baseman way off on a play like that. It's just different than throwing a pitch. It's hard to explain exactly what goes on, but that's why you'll also see a lot of guys sometimes fire it over there at about 90 miles an hour, where the first base is like, what's up, dude? I'm right here.
You got to take those PFPs seriously, don't you, right?
You do. The reps mean a ton.
On the half field.
3-2. Good fastball there. 94 miles an hour from John Brebbia.
I know for myself, I saved myself so many runs throughout my career by being able to field my position. I got a lot of ground balls anyhow, a lot of stuff back to me, and it helped out. But it's they spend countless hours doing it in spring training. You know, the guys, at some point you feel like you're almost going through the motions, and then you realize how important it is. And that's why I love seeing the Cardinals do this, and I'm sure the Marlins do as well. Ball clubs, you know, all around baseball, kind of make competitions out of it and make it fun and make you want to compete.
On the ground is short. Sosa. Marlins pick up a run, and they cut the lead to 7-3 as we are midway through 8. Shared telecast on Fox Sports Midwest and Fox Sports Florida. Todd Hollandsworth has the Marlins telecast coming up this year. Brad Thompson, Dan McLaughlin. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention your partner again for the upcoming season.
Paul Severino.
He is back for another year. Does a great job with you.
Yes, he does. He's
good man.
Very excited. I think he's got a little bit of downtime here just before the start of the season as we kind of wind things up. So good for him. I'm happy he's trying to take full advantage of that family time because we're here every day.
So Paul just didn't want to work today, so here we are.
Hi, Dan.
I get it. It's fine.
you get to be here with me instead of him.
It's all good.
That's right.
I think Todd tabled it better than you did, though. I mean, you just threw it right out there.
I don't. Yeah, I just. We're in the honesty booth, aren't we? This is the honest booth.
This is the trust tree right here. Trust tree.
Yeah,
okay.
not, right?
Here's Tyler O'Neill playing the full at least 8 for Tyler O'Neill. We'll see if he comes out in the 9th. It's been hit by a pitch with the bases loaded, singled to right, and also struck out. Duggar is second inning. And O'Neill tied up and strikes out to start the home half of the 8th.
Yeah, another good breaking ball from Duggar. He's got a doozy. 12-6. You can add and subtract to it, and when it's working, boy, oh boy, it's fun to watch.
Here's Harrison Bader, really good at bat. Last time up with the bases loaded, singled, drove in 2. And a breaking ball taken low. Cardinals with a right-hander getting loose for the 9th inning after Brebbia gave up a run in the top half of this inning. 1 out and nobody on, and a 1-0 pitch to Harrison Bader. Fun time of year. Get to see the young players, the excitement of the Major League season about 2.5 weeks away. Cardinals and Marlins break camp 2 weeks from today.
This is the time, too, where everybody starts kind of separating from the pack. I mean, I know with the Cardinals, there are plenty of spots kind of still open. Who's going to be your everyday left fielder? Who's starting in center field for you?
Yeah.
What is the 5th starter spot? Who's the last guy in the bullpen? A lot of competition still.
What do you think the biggest questions remain for the Marlins at this point? What are they?
Well, I think most of those questions probably do remain in the bullpen. I feel like there's a much more certainty, say, with the starting lineup and the guys who they believe are going to be on the team. You've got some maybe backup roles that could be decided. This is a team that, for the most part, is going to give, you know, a large percentage of their offensive side of the roster opportunity, meaning, you know, role players are still going to end up with 250, 300 at bats, and I still think that's a very real possibility. So some of those questions are probably answered already. You know, you see the vets that are on this team. Great acquisition who hasn't obviously been mentioned today because he wasn't in the lineup. Corey Dickerson, I mean, very, very good player in the National League for many seasons. Good left-handed bat. I look forward to seeing him this week as well. But he's had a very, very nice. He's the big acquisition that the Marlins have made this offseason, and bringing him in on a 2-year deal. He's going to be playing left field. Sounds like Don Mattingly, you know, he's one of those guys you can move around a little bit, but I think Corey's going to play pretty much left field and hit third for the Marlins all season.
Jonathan Villar is an interesting pickup as well. I think he kind of gets lost being in Baltimore last year, but the numbers that he put up, he'll steal some bags. He's got some power. It's a good pickup.
I totally agree, and I love players who are, well, financially motivated.
Yeah, of course.
We've had conversation about this a little bit earlier because I think we all operate this way. And I think VR is certainly in the position where that ball gets to the backstop. He's being compensated very well this year for a fantastic season last year. But if he wants that deal, that 3 or 4 year deal that maybe, whether it's in Miami or wherever else it might be, he's got to do it one more time, and I think there's a chance. I mean, you love to bet on those guys.
Brad is here for the love of sport.
Is he? He works for free.
Yeah,
That is true.
Yeah.
Well, except for the free part. I mean, I love the sport, though.
Tips?
You do love the sport.
I do love the sport.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, I work for
He
tips.
works for
I got my hat sitting out. Unfortunately, it's blown away a few times.
Yeah.
Had some change in there.
Runner at second. This is Dylan Carlson. And he pops it up. It's on the infield. And the catch is made. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the St. Louis Cardinals and Miami Marlins and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. The accounts and descriptions may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals and Miami Marlins. Edmundo Sosa has a double today. Took over at second, then shifted to short after Colton Wong was hit by a pitch. Hit him on the back of his leg. Not expected to be serious, but take him out. We're in spring training. No reason to push it.
Those things have a tendency to tighten up throughout a game.
Well, I know it's a little bit later in our ball game today, and we don't get the obviously the opportunity to kind of do this dynamic very often. But I always thought that the opening up in the Midwest is dangerous sometimes for the players because the temperature change. You come down here and you fall in love with Florida. It's 80 degrees every day. All the Cardinals feel great. All the Astros feel great. All them, you know what I mean? Well, the Marlins get to stay put. Everybody else gets to go north, and you jump into sometimes that cold weather, and your legs get tight again. Your swing feels a little bit different. And if you're dealing with something like a calf and it's not taken care of, it can turn into something bigger.
Cardinals open up on the 26th of this month in Cincinnati, and you don't know what kind of day that could be.
Right, there you go.
So 2 outs, runner at second. That is Justin Williams, who's at second base. Edmundo Sosa at the plate. And he skies one out to right field. Third and final out here in the 8th inning sends us to the 9th. Cody Whitley coming in for St. Louis. 7-3 our score in favor of the St. Louis Cardinals, top of the 9th. Here on Fox Sports Florida and Fox Sports Miami. Cody Whitley is in, and he has had quite the rise through the Cardinals minor league system. Last season in the minor leagues, he had 50 combined appearances and a 1.60 ERA.
Not bad to start out in high A down here in Palm Beach and end up in Memphis. Generally does not happen that way.
No.
And early on in spring training, I mean, even before games, this was a name that we kept hearing over and over again was Cody Whitley. You'd hear hitters coming back say, I don't want to face that guy anymore. We're good.
Right.
Thank you.
I saw the 78 punch outs. This young man clearly has a live arm.
Can get it up there in the high 90s. Used to throw a 2-seamer. Now he's a 4-seamer, slider, changeup.
Pitching to the top of the strike zone a little bit more, it sounds like.
He can do that.
Yeah.
The changeup's important too, because we spent a little time earlier talking about the new rules that are going to be implemented this year. That changeup's really going to help keep lefties off of stuff. The fastball, slider are good, and the slider plays, especially down and into lefties, but the changeup's a good another look.
Also, he has gone from starting earlier in his career to now relieving, and with that is seen, and Brad, you can speak to this, a jump in velocity, when you're a starter as opposed to when you say, okay, I got to get 3 outs.
Yeah,
let it air it out.
Yes, for sure. And there is a difference. When you're a starter, you're thinking down the road. While you're executing pitch to pitch, you're thinking about, well, I'm going to be out here for 6, 7, 8, 9 innings. You got to keep a little in reserve, a little in the tank. When you're in the bullpen, you're letting it go.
And that's just his second walk this spring. He was a 27th round pick out of Mount Olive in 2017. 27th round. And here he is on the doorstep of Major League Baseball.
Well, it was probably, I mean, he had Tommy John surgery before he ended up getting drafted. And maybe that shied teams away, It said, I don't know. Even though we know Tommy John's not the mystery that it was years ago. Guys bounce back from it very well. But you talk about a a good pick in the 27th round. The Cardinals have had a lot of those over the years. What round was Rosenthal? Rosie was a late round guy. Trevor Rosenthal.
He was in the 20s. And by the way, he pitched very well the other night for Kansas City. He's been reunited with Mike Matheny, and the hard thrower that tried to come back from Tommy John. Didn't quite work out all that well a year ago, and maybe he's got it back. Good luck to him. Good guy.
I think I saw triple digits at the knees down and away in spring already.
Rosenthal, 21st round pick.
That's value.
I'd say so.
You think they'll ever have a better 13th round pick, the Cardinals, than Albert Pujols?
No.
It's going to be tough.
I'm going to say that
definitively
with great confidence. Albert's moving up the charts, whether you're a Cardinal fan or Miami fan. If you're just a baseball fan in general, he's moving up some historic ladders. Home runs, closing in on Willie Mays. There's a base hit out to right. Williams will cut it off. A walk and now a single for the Marlins here in their top of the ninth.
A good swing from Jose Devers. Fooled just a little bit. I think that might have been the changeup, but stayed nice through the zone, able to soft line drive into right. Let's take another look. I think he might have been fooled just a little bit if that was the changeup or not. A little running action on it. Good swing nonetheless.
Eddie Alvarez, as Todd mentioned, a big day for him. Found out a gender reveal of a little boy before our first pitch, and then came in the game, made a nice play. Has also reached base. Cody Whitley is thinking about a ground ball here.
Todd, you were showing me the video earlier of the gender reveal, and that was about the pitch that his wife threw to him.
You're right.
It was up and in and firm.
Had a little velocity, a little hair on it, as we like to say. He had a bit of a defensive swing.
That'd be a tough marriage to get one up and in like that, you know?
Well,
got to keep him honest.
The celebration was rather outstanding after. I want to say family and friends there to see everything that was going on in the video that we were sent. You're right.
There's a changeup to offset the lefties from Cody Whitley. Nothing in two, the count. And a ground ball, could be two. A little flip, high throw, the turn, and got him. What a turn on a tough receiving throw there for Sosa, but he turned it. Wow. Shows off his arm.
Yeah, the arm has been a big story. The bat has it as well. But you're right, this is a tough feed. It's up. He's got to hang around the bag a little bit more than he wants to. Can't use his momentum to get in there and help with the throw, but the strong arm really makes up for it.
It's flat-footed.
Had to shorten up just a little bit to get the ball out a little quicker, and still had enough on it to get the double play.
Harold Ramirez at the plate, and the final hope for Miami. Looks at a ball low onside. 7-2 Cardinals. Bundo Sosa has had a terrific camp here for the Cardinals. Really good camp. Popped foul out of play. 1 ball, 1 strike. And the 1-1 pitch, Cody Whitley. Ground ball to second, and this should do it. The Cardinals will win it by the final of 7-3. Pitching, and the Cardinals have shown that this spring, but some bright spots along the way for Miami too.
Yeah, no doubt about it. The young guys stepped up today. I felt like there were some good at-bats by Monte Harrison as well as Jazz Chisholm, who had a long home run. But you're right. The Marlins having a good spring fall to the St. Louis Cardinals today, who outpitched him just a little
Yeah,
bit.
I like seeing Dakota Hudson do his thing. A lot of swing and miss in his game. 5 punch-outs in his 3 2/3. The bullpen did their job. Put up a few crooked numbers today as a little under 2 weeks away from opening day.
Quick timeout. We'll be back to wrap it up in a moment.